The following is a special presentation of iRacing on LSR TV, your home for sim racing. Live tonight from the Myrtle Beach Speedway, this is round number 2 of the 2018 Championship Esports Association Cars eSport Tour on LSR TV, your home for sim racing and iRacing Live. We say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to tonight's Cars Myrtle Beach 200 as we return for the second week of competition on 2018. We get our first look at the super late models a little bit later on tonight, as both the late model stocks and super lates are in competition tonight for 100 laps apiece of main event racing. That is going to be going on a little bit later on this evening, as always, on a Wednesday evening. We're happy that you're with us at LSR TV and iRacing Live. Myself, Evan Pasoko, alongside with Chris Murdoch and Blake McCandless at the LSR TV booth. Our producer, Cisco Scarnamusa, downstairs, twisted and tweaking the dials that are bringing us to you this evening. And the way that we always get these things kicked off, Blake, is LCQ running as we get set to enter up to 6 more drivers into the field for both our late model stocks and super late model main events that'll be coming up later on. So, of course, the late model stocks will kick us off 25 laps in the LCQ. That'll be the first of 4 races coming at you tonight.
Absolutely, Evan, and you look out of the field that we have before us tonight, we got a lot of great names out here ready to tackle the Myrtle Beach Speedway. And again, these guys just ready to get after it here, both in the super late models and the late model stocks coming on.
Going to be a good one, as always. It's going to be 4 drivers to qualify in just based on the finishing position alone in each of the LCQs, and then the 5th and 6th tickets into the main event going to go based on provisionals to drivers on last year's points. If there just so happens to be no drivers outside of the top 4 at an LCQ that got points last season, it would then revert to the 5th and then 6th highest finishers at the end of the day. But I think you can expect there to be some provisionals, no doubt, coming into this one. It is the second of the late model stock races on the season, Blake. We did not see the super late models last time out 2 weeks ago, so we're going to get our first look at them a little bit later on this evening. But of course, coming into tonight, it is all about Jeff Ward, who opened up the LMSC season with a win at Stafford 2 weeks ago. He comes into tonight as the man with the target on his back. These late model stocks race all 12 weeks of competition, where the super lates will only go at it 9 times for points racing. So it is always a big step in the right direction for somebody like a Jeff Ward to start off at victory lane, and he's going to be looking to continue that momentum here this evening.
He certainly is, but you also got to remember it is very early on in the season, so you got guys like Christian Peterson, Matt Kocher, Devin Morgan, who are right behind him trying to see if they can make up just the 4 points that separate them after just a very quick start to the season.
Of course, the way that the schedule with this Cars eSport Tour works, Chris, is obviously to follow as closely as possible exactly what you see with the Cars Tour any given week. But this is a very familiar place for us at LSR TV and iRacing Live on Wednesday nights, with a lot of these drivers as well. Back to the Myrtle Beach Speedway, where we had nearly 19 weeks of action with a lot of familiar faces as it plays host to tonight's race. The Myrtle Beach Speedway making its one and only appearance on the calendar for 2018 here tonight. So this is a racetrack that we know very well and we know can absolutely produce some fantastic racing.
You're absolutely right, Evan. It's such a fun track to go around. And even watch, just being up here in the booth watching cars go around this, they can get really testy sometimes, and that's what I really like about this track. Everybody's willing to push the limits as far as they can, so I'm going to expect nothing less here tonight from the Cars Tour.
Looking forward to a good night. Feature racing still about 30 or so minutes away. We'll get to that in a little bit, but LCQ is up first, and we do have cars on track. So let's go trackside and take a look at your LSR TV starting grid 5 at a time. time for the late model stock LCQ. It is going to be Reed Rundell on a pole position for this one. The number 43 Chevrolet will take to the green flag alongside Wesley Whitfield, who will start in second. Back on road number 2, going to be third place starter Jack Ritchie. Jerry Watkins will start in fourth, with Christian Murphy in fifth.
6th goes to that 22 of John Lyday. 7th, Paul Henley. 8th, Cam Davidson. 9th, Wally Wilson. And rounding out your top 10, Sean Cross. 11th will go to Joshua Cox. Todd Novosad, 12th, 13th. Joe Birch at 14th. Brandon Wilkinson. 15th, Jacob Gray. 16th, Chris Johnson. Dustin Turner rounding out your 17-car field.
Looks out the bottom is how we will take them off. And again, just going to be a little bit less than half the field advancing. Top 4 spots locked in based on a finishing position and then 2 provisionals. We'll spend plenty of time this evening talking about this Myrtle Beach Speedway, the racetrack that clocks in at 0.56 miles in length. Of course, the banking in the corners at 35 degrees and those curbs down in 1 and 2. The fact that the pit road wall is right up on the inside of the racetrack in 3 and 4 are some of the unique characteristics that make this racetrack just what it is. But as the pace car heads down, as we are always on a Wednesday night, we're happy that you're spending your night with us at LSR TV in iRacing Live. Pace car down and in. It is the number 43 of Reed Rundell looking for a berth in the main event. He'll take the American Ethanol green flag. We're racing in the Cars eSport Tour.
Not a good start for that number 90 of Jeremy Watkins. He was really slow on that outside line. He's going to be pushed to line with that 22 contact made, and they're going to be spinning down the back straightaway. Hard contact to the pit wall by Jeremy Watkins.
Right out of the gate, caution flag is out. Jeremy Watkins. 4 tires on that race car pointed skywards. Caution early in this one. Obviously, you're going to expect things to be a little bit chaotic, Blake, right out of the gate, but that 90 machine got moved up the hill the first time through 1 and 2, and I just don't think it was the 16 car. As you're taking a second look at a replay, I just don't think that 16 to Henley knew that Ani was up there. He gave enough room for just that 22 Elide to fit, but there's just no way 3 cars fit there, and the 16 and the Ani went around, but it was definitely Watkins who got the worst of it right into those tires on the pit road wall.
Yeah, it definitely is. You can look at him coming off of turn number 2, and it looks like he, like you said, thought the 22 had enough room, but maybe you're just not expecting 3 wide this early on. He drifts up into the 22 and creates a lot of carnage here on lap 1 and going into turn 3.
It'll slow things down right out of the gate. Caution flag on lap 1 of 25. So obviously the drivers towards the back of the pack. If you made it through that one, not necessarily all bad news, but when you lose 4 laps of those 25, no opportunities obviously to gain positions under the yellow flag. Not necessarily the best news you can get. And there is no doubt, Chris, that 25 laps at a last chance qualifier is not a lot of time. Even the feature races a little bit later on this evening, 100 laps in distance for both the late model stocks and the super late models. Those aren't that long of races either. Very much on the shorter end of things for what we're going to come to expect over the course of the season, especially when you go to a place like Irwindale next time out, where the late model stocks going to be doing 123 laps at the outer loop at Irwindale. So this is not going to be a long night of action. It may be a hard-fought one, though, if that first half a mile is any indication.
Exactly, Evan, and we saw this a lot, flashing back to the Myrtle Beach Speedway simulation series. We saw how hard it was to pass in this short amount of lap time, given that the inside and the outside line are so equal. So it's going to be interesting to see how long guys can wait around and if they'll start to use those bumpers, because we know how difficult it is to pass at this track.
We get another opportunity coming up right here and right now. The iRacing.com pace car going to go back down and into the safety of pit road. And it is going to be once more Reed Rundell up in front of the field inside of the front row. This time he controls the restart on this one. We'll see what the number 43 car can do as they come to the green flag. The 15 tries to guess it a little bit, and it is going to be Ritchie topside by half a car length. Rundell will have the preferred position as we go side by side for the race lead to 2. Give it to the 15 up top.
And the 43 going to be coming back on the inside. Evan down into 3. Reed Rundle going to be taking that inside line and powering off the corner, clearing the 15 of Jack Ritchie. And now Jack is going to have to defend his way from Whitfield there in that 71. Going to be on the inside. Lyday just behind him. We saw him have some contact with Jeremy Watkins, so he's going to still be up there towards the front. And caution going to be out once again.
It's the 26 of Burchett. He's one of the drivers involved. And it looks like Jacob Gray in the number 17 is at least one of the other ones. We'll get another second look at this one of the LSR TV replay. It was definitely Burchett, though, that got tagged. I talked about those curbs down on the inside of the racetrack, Blake, at 1 and 2. And it looked like that 36 machine just got way too low, locked up the tires, headed into the corner in the first place, but then got onto those curbs. It pushed him up the hill. Really nothing Burchett could have done. He wasn't all that pinching, and when he got tagged to the left rear quarter panel, he did his best to hang on, but at that point, he became a bumper car. He goes around, and he also is the one that ended up tanking Jacob Gray, who had nothing to do with where all of that started, but got a good piece of the outside wall again, and that heavily damaged 17 Chevy now limping to pit road.
Yeah, it looks like Wally Wilson there trying to dive it into turn number 1. He gives the 26 gives him room down there, moves up the racetrack, but as you said, locks up those front tires, and with the flat racetrack you have here, just not a lot of room. So the 26 definitely gets the worst of that. The 17 machine also heavily damaged in this one of Jacob Gray.
Of course, these late model stocks, the little bit more tamed version of the late models of the iRacing service. We'll see the super late models later on tonight. We'll have an opportunity to talk about that, of course, as this racing continues. But this late model stock is iRacing's Chevrolet Monte Carlo SS. Everybody on track running it with the same fixed setup. These cars clocking in at 3,100 pounds, 370 horsepower, with a top speed of 160 miles an hour. Not necessarily seeing speeds up to those numbers here at the Myrtle Beach Speedway, and a very slow start, Chris, with 2 yellows to the opening 10 laps.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to these guys to get some green flag laps in here, Evan, and just really open these cars up, because as you mentioned, we're not going to see those top speeds just yet, but these cars can really move and really beat and bang, as we've seen early on here around this track. So once we get all the jitters out, and you know, the last chance qualifier jitters get out, and we start shuffling people around, we'll start to see some really good racing here later on tonight, and maybe even in this race alone.
Expecting the lights to go out on top of the pace car this next time by. It would restart this last chance qualifier just shy of halfway home in the 25 lap total distance. Again, happy that you're with us if you just get it in on LSR TV and iRacing Live. Late model stock LCQ in progress. Top 4 drivers get their ticket punched into the main event later on tonight. 100 lap feature. 2 provisionals to be handed out to the top 2 finishers that did not qualify into the race based on speed and finishing position from last year's points. If there is nobody that fits those qualifications, the next highest drivers, of course, 5th and 6th in the results, would be able to take home those spots. Restart going to come up, though. 13 cars still scored on the lead lap. Those who started 1, 2, 3 still sit 1, 2, 3, but notably Jeremy Watkins, who started in 4th, involved in an accident earlier, he's fallen to 15th. So John Lyday has slid into 4th position. He's sitting outside of row 2, and now he finds himself at a transfer spot after starting back in the number 6 spot a couple of laps ago. Look for Rundell to get a better restart this time. He had a half a car length disadvantage last time, and it is very much more so even this time, with Ritchie right on the door as we get back away to 1. Inside of the racetrack's going to be the place to be. The 43 clears for the top spot. Ritchie safely in 2nd. 3rd right now is Whitfield, and a yellow before a challenge can come for 4th. It is Tom Novosad and Cam Davidson.
Yeah, gonna see those 2 get the cars back up and going. Looked like they just ran out of room. Looked like some contact between the 06 of Cox and the 01 of Turnage coming out of turn number 2, and it just sent Joshua out of control, and Novosad had nowhere to go. Evan just gonna go right in the side of him and spin them both out, and even some more drivers in that mess, the 26 being one of them. So just a whole lot of nowhere to go coming out of turn 2.
And Drivers taking it easy, Blake, is not something that immediately comes to my mind when I think about an LCQ, but that's another situation where the 34 gets going off for the restart, makes it 3 wide, and they simply cannot accommodate 3 cars in 2 lanes of traffic. And it's very easy to just say, well, hey, take it easy, don't do that. But you're talking about folks outside of the top transfer spots that are quite literally fighting for their lives. If they don't get into the top 4, they are not going to be racing later on tonight, and they have to head home. So that's exactly what I would expect to see. Not what I want to see, but I think it's exactly what I expect to see in an LCQ of this nature that's now closing into 10 laps to go as we work on our yellow again.
Well, Evan, I was about to mention, with all these yellows that are coming up, you're not getting a lot of green flag laps in right now, so you're having to take advantage of every opportunity that you can, and all of these guys know out here the best spot to try and make up as much ground as you can is on these restarts where you're running 2 wide, even though now they're going to move to single file restarts after 3 consecutive yellows to start this one. But you got to make up as much time as possible because you never know when that yellow flag could be flying for something back in the field.
Rundell and Richie, Whitfield, and Lade still 1, 2, 3, 4. It was going to be a good fight for the number 5 spot there, Chris. Christian Murphy was looking to the inside, and we were side by side for 4th after the top 3 had single filed out. The 87 machine, I think, out of anybody, has to be the most frustrated with the way that this has been going. He started 5th. He still runs in 5th. He's been 1 spot shy of making the main show all night long, and if he can't get a couple of laps to do something with it, pretty futile sitting there 1 spot out.
Yeah, that's got to be very, very frustrating for the number 87, you know, just right there every single time coming out of 2, but then something happens in his way to prevent it, and it's just starting over, hitting that reset button, and that's never what you want to see, is hitting that reset button. So hopefully we can get some green flag laps in here, see that 87 really wind it up, and maybe even get up there to a transfer spot.
See if he could make that work as we get at least 1 more opportunity at this thing. The lights go out on top of the pace car. Going to be 18 laps down and 7 laps to go in this race. And we do take the green flag. That still leaves us with an opportunity to go through another cycle of caution flag service and be able to go back green. Although I'm sure the likes of, Lide, Murphy, Wilkinson would prefer to much race this one out. 3 yellow flags in a row means that we are going to be single file for this restart. You can see that as the pace car drops back down to pit road. Let's see what happens on this one here as the 43 are on down. Going to come back to the green flag. 18 laps down. Watch for position 4. That's the big one. But Richie with a bad start. And here we go. 3 wide up the middle. It's not going to work. Bumper cars, and they're going to wreck behind them. And somehow now we're still wrecking up front. Lade all the way around.
It seems like turn 2 going into turn 1 is the trouble spot. Everybody just trying to get everything they can get, Evan, coming through there. And we were watching the carnage up front between Lide and others. Just so many people in that wreck involved, and there was even a wreck behind him to even initially bring out the caution. So much carnage going through turns 1 and 2.
Yeah, I was watching the battle for second, Blake, where somehow they held onto it for the longest time. That's a position where I understand the 15 had a bad start, but you're in a transfer spot. Why are we going 3 wide? Lade probably could have just sat on his hands in 4th and stayed there instead. He made it 3 wide and wrecked himself out of this race, but that's not even where the yellow came from.
No, it's not, but, and again, I really wasn't expecting that from the 15 of Jack Ritchie. You could see he had gotten a great restart there on the outside lane a couple times, so then, like you said, going 3 wide here into turn 1, kind of ending all of their chances, including the pride of Chanticleer Nation here in Myrtle Beach, Jack Ritchie carrying the teal colors of the Chanticleers tonight.
A tough break for him, although he ends up better than Lade because Richie still scored in the number 2 spot. Wilkinson, out of nowhere, quite literally, started in 14th position. You blink, he's 3rd. He's in a transfer spot inside of 5 laps to go. He leapfrogged in front of Wesley. Actually, he's going to update now. Wesley Whitfield going to be scored 3rd, and you will now see Wilkinson get replaced back into 5th position. So that means Christian Murphy finally gets over that hump, but I would not feel very confident with Wilkinson behind me. The 56 car has already gotten 9 spots. If he won more, he's in the main show.
You definitely cannot sleep on Brandon Wilkinson, because in a blink of an eye, just like he has been this entire race here, Evan, he can be right on your back bumper. We know how good he is at managing the tires and finding the line here at Myrtle Beach to make it fast, and he's done just that, 14th to 5th, now knocking on the back door of the 87 of Christian Murphy, who, like you mentioned, just got in his transfer spot by playing the waiting game, but I don't think you can play the waiting game anymore with that 56 right behind you.
And not many people have been heeding that advice so far, but I can promise you that this is now going to be the final restart on this race. Question is, how many laps are we going to get out of it? If the lights go out this time, but a pace car, it would be a one-lap run to the end of this thing, with Rundell, Ritchie, Whitfield, and Murphy occupying those transfer positions as we run. Have to see if the lights, though, do go out right here.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. The pace car coming off in turn number 4. We can almost see the race for the end coming out here, and the lights are going to go out on the pace car. So we're going to be treated to a one-lap shootout here for all the marbles to try to get into the feature that's going on later tonight. The top 4 get in. We'll see if Murphy can hold on to that spot, if Wilkinson can try to take advantage, or some more contact will get some guys up through the back of this field and get some good luck here.
Get to the white flag, no yellows. You're going to race it out the final half mile to the end of this. 4 tickets up for grabs. In the late model stock main event, Reed Rundell from pole position going to bring us back to the green flag with 1 lap to go for Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Ritchie, Whitfield, Murphy, but here we go for 4th. The 87 of Murphy going to get moved out of the way. It was Brandon Wilkinson. He'll come for payback to the inside for 4th. Side by side for the final transfer position. The 15 of Ritchie going to slide sideways, and now 2 cars are up into the wall, and it is going to be Jack Ritchie who doesn't make it home. Whitfield, Murphy, and Wilkinson will follow Rundell across the start-finish line and make it to the main show.
They were wrecking all over the place that final lap, Evan, coming out of 2, going into 3, coming out of 4. It was just all over the place, which is accurately describes this LCQ, because they were all over the place all night long. But I guess that's what you come to expect when, as you mentioned before, you're basically fighting for your life, fighting for your transfer spot. Everybody was going to try to do everything they could to beat and bang and get their way to that top 4, but fortunately for the 43, the 71, the 87, and the 56, they will be the 4 to move on.
And it all started with a spin in 5th position, and Sean Cross, Dustin Turnage go around, and at that point it looked like everything was going to be okay. It was just Murphy fighting side by side with Wilkinson, but it was Whitfield who gave a shot to the 50 to Jack Ritchie, and he did his best. I'll give him that, Blake, to go sideways, tried to hang on, and eventually he got turned across the nose of Wilkinson, and that car looped all the way around, not making it to the end. Not to mention Wilkinson barely held on the 4th at a photo finish with Burchett.
Yeah, it looks like Ritchie was actually going to be able to save that car. He got another shot while he was sliding sideways, and that's what sent him up into the 56. And then the Brandon Wilkinson able to hang on there. 26 coming with a full head of steam, but just not enough time to be able to make it. But yeah, definitely a last chance qualifier full of carnage for the first one that we're going to see tonight.
And if that's a preview of what's to come, because we've got 25 more laps of LCQ racing coming up as the super late models take to the track, but it is Reed Rundell, Wesley Whitfield, Christian Murphy, and Brandon Wilkinson who are going to the late model stock main event. That one coming up later on this evening. Now it's time to qualify the super late model field. We'll take a quick opportunity to step aside when we come back to the Myrtle Beach Speedway. It is super late model LCQ action. You're watching LSR TV's continuing coverage of the 2018 Cars eSport Tour on your home for sim racing and iRacing live, back with more last chance qualifier action in a moment.
The Triangle's biggest sports event of the spring comes to Raleigh on April 7th when the Cars Response Energy Tour visits Wake County Speedway. Tickets are on sale now for the biggest event to hit America's favorite bull ring in its entire history. The biggest late model stock car drivers like Josh Berry, Sam Mayer, Lane Riggs, and Deke McCaskill hit the quarter mile for a night full of action. April 7th, the Cars Tour at Wake County Speedway. For more information and tickets, visit carsracingtour.com.
And back live from the Myrtle Beach Speedway as LSR TV's continuing coverage of the Championship Esports Association's Cars eSport Tour continues here tonight with week number 2 on the 2018 campaign. Just got things kicked off with the late model Stark LCQ. We do it all over again with a little bit more kick as the super late models make their season debut tonight. They'll have a 100-lap feature later on for the first points race of the year, but this is our first look at them all season long, Chris, and it's the same format as we just saw. 25 laps to determine the final 6 positions, top 4 on finishing results, 5th and 6th based on provisionals.
Yeah, I'm excited to get these cars out on track for the first time this season. Evan, like you mentioned, not there 2 weeks ago at Stafford, but going to be here at Myrtle Beach, which is always going to be a fun time for these cars. And not really knowing what to expect out of this one. We know what we saw in the last LCQ, maybe more of that, maybe more beating and banging, but we know what's on the line in this LCQ, same as the last one, and it'll be interesting to see how these drivers handle it.
It will definitely be interesting to see how they handle it. If you compare it to the late model Stark one, starting up front is very important based on the amount of or lack thereof laps of green flag racing. You might see similar field size. We'll introduce you to them top to bottom. We go trackside and take a look at your LSR TV starting grid. Pole position in this one, you're going to go to the 17 of AJ Rogers. He'll be joined on the front row by the 05 of Benjamin Butler. Starts in the number 2 spot. Tommy Ryan 3rd. Dawson Fletcher in 4th. These drivers are the ones who will start above the cut line just behind them inside of row 3 and 5th. That is the 02 and White Beverly.
6th is going to go to Chris Johnson. The 3 of Brad Carpenter are going to roll off from 7th. 8th, Randy Yoakum. Ray Slate going to be 9th. Rounding out your top 10, Chip Dickert.
11th going to be the 36 of Wally Wilson. 12th, Travis Powell. 13th, Jeremy Watkins in the 90. 14th, Matthew Murphy in the 8. And then rounding out in the top 15 is going to be the 10 of Brandon Stokes.
And everybody else throughout the end of this one, you got Turnage, Watkins, and Melvin. I'll look top to bottom at your starting grid. Lights, as always, out on top of the iRacing.com car 2 pace laps at racetracks under a mile in length of the iRacing service, so these drivers with a little bit more of an opportunity to take a deep breath and settle on in. You could count your lucky stars that they were watching in that first race with the late model stocks. So we will see how the super lates want to kick off 2018. It is the same scenario. Everything is on the line. For the top 4 finishers, you're going on to the 100-lap main event. Going to be coming up next on LSR TV and iRacing Live. And pace car down and in. Let's go LCQ racing once more. Super lates underway.
Green flag out, and Rogers off to a great start, really opening that super late model up as he's leaving Tommy Ryan and Benjamin Butler behind as a caution's out before we get to turn 3.
Second time in a row in the opening lap. This one is Matthew Murphy and Wally Wilson. 2 drivers running outside of the top 10. It really was Wally Wilson's accident who collected some other friends. And back to those curbs we were talking about, Blake. That 36 machine really unforced, just cut down a little bit too low. You can see the left-hand side of the car get jacked up and spun it around on his own. There was literally nowhere for that number 8 machine to go on the outside of the racetrack. Murphy, an innocent bystander who got picked up by that one.
No, it wasn't. Not an aggressive shot early here. Just an example of getting on that apron down there and just not a lot of room out here. As soon as you get down on that banking, there is a little bit of a banking change down there. Obviously, it's a flat racetrack out here, Myrtle Beach Speedway, but that's just enough to upset the car and send the 36 around, and the poor number 8 car nowhere to go. He's going to take a hard lick out of that one. Matthew Murphy looks like he's going to sustain some heavy damage here on lap 1.
And it looks like, based on obviously the short amount of lap times that you've got in a race like this, that might just very well end his evening just like that. Unfortunately, would it be tough to recover, I think, under any circumstances, with a fresh race car or not, from all the way at the back of the pack. But both of the cars that involved in that accident ended up with a pretty good bit of damage, so I doubt that we will see either of them be able to get back. You never know what could happen, but 15th and 16th for Murphy and then Wilson, respectively, is a long way down the ladder to try to climb out of. And when you think of about 4 laps or so, Chris, every time we get a yellow flag, this takes a little bit less than a fifth of the race out of this thing. That's a big chunk, so that also hurts those drivers deeper in the pack as well.
It really does, Evan, and it's, as you mentioned at the top of this LCQ, it's being up front is really important, and right now we're seeing Rogers, Ryan, Butler, and Beverly in those top 4 spots, so you gotta really minimize the cautions here for anybody behind them to really get a shot at this thing, because like you mentioned, one caution ticks away so many laps and you really don't get a shot to do very much with it. So gonna see the lights go off on the pace car and doubled up, so we'll have to see if this trend continues here tonight.
If we were to see 3 yellow flags, we would revert to the single car, or single file ready order, I guess, per se, like we saw in the late model stocks, but we'll do this one 2x2 again. AJ Rogers inside of the racetrack doesn't have a huge advantage as control car. He will go when the green flag drops. Look for the restart box on the outside of the racetrack right there. Green flag in the air. Great jump for the 05 of Butler. He gave it quite the shot to the back of the 17. It'll propel Rogers out to the race lead, but a fight for second up on our hands as the 05 machine of Butler to the inside of Ryan for second.
Not gonna last too long though, as Ryan on the outside gonna power in that second lane, gonna clear that 05 of Butler. Now Butler gonna have to fight off Dawson Fletcher, as Fletcher looks to the inside now and looks to be taking that position as they come off of turn 2.
Side by side still, Fletcher on the inside of the racetrack. He'll try to take now a 3rd spot away from Butler, and he will. So Butler ends up exactly where he was off of the restart. Then that is the 4th and final transfer spot, but it might not be for long. Look at the 3 of Brad Carpenter. Some bit of damage on the left-hand side of the 3, but he is putting the pressure to him nonetheless. It's a fight for the final transfer spot.
It is Carpenter diving it down on the inside, but you can't forget about right behind him. He's got a mirror full of the 08 of Ralph Slade as they go down into turn number 1. That 3 still on the inside of the 05. He looks to get position off of corner number 2. He'll get it, and then the 08 gonna make some contact there, move the 05 up the racetrack, but right now Brad Carpenter is sitting in the final transfer spot.
Carpenter took it away. He's now 4th. Rafe Slate slides into 5th. At a 55 mission to Travis Powell is going to take 6th away. So quite the change of pace for the 05 as Butler tagged the wall that time. Went up in a fight for 2nd off of the restart. He has now fallen to 7th position for the 05 as the anchor stays out the back end.
Yeah, really losing spots right now, Evan. Meanwhile, battle for the second place position. Fletcher trying to take the position away from Ryan and does with ease. Meanwhile, just in front of them, it's the AJ Rogers show as a caution comes out.
Dwight Beverly's the spinner from the number 8 position, 2nd yellow of the LCQ so far tonight. He was going to be the next driver to try to go up against the 05 of Butler, and the 01 of Dustin Turnage just got a little bit too aggressive, and no pun intended, turned him in the quarter, got really hot in there in the left rear quarter panel, and did his best to not completely bonsai that move, but at that point, too little too late, and not that I think the 02 machine could have done defensively.
No, I don't think he could have. He was just driving in there, trying to make the corner, trying to make up some ground on the 05, who have been kind of pinned on the outside lane there for quite some time. And it looks like he just gets turned into by Turnage right there in the 01. A caution flies once again. We saw some good green flag racing, though. Hopefully that's a sign of things to come as we move along tonight.
Beverly is going to head down to the pit lane, but a lot happened in all of that. You're right. Rogers still up front. Dawson Fletcher was able to move up into the number 2 position. Tommy Ryan ends up somehow exactly where he started 3rd. Carpenter is able to move into the final transfer spot, but with a little bit less than half of this race to go, Chris, I'm not sure how comfortable he can be in the bright green number 3 car, because Slate behind him up 4 spots. Travis Powell, 1 more spot back in 6th. Up 6 positions. So those are some fast charging cars that are going to be ripping and roaring to go on a restart.
You're exactly right, Evan, and Rafe Slate not one to shy away from making contact. We saw him during that short little green flag run there. We had him make a little bit of contact with Benjamin Butler in that 05 to send him up another groove in the lane to secure that spot. So especially getting down to these final few laps here, Evan, you're going to see the aggression ramp up, and you're going to see a lot more bumpers be used, and that is to expect here for the LCQ, because you really got to get in those transfer spots, and I don't expect Rafe Slate to hold back one bit.
Don't expect it to hold back at all. In fact, this time by, going to be just 10 laps to go in this SLM LCQ. Is the combination of letters that I was looking for, but Blake, definitely a little bit more green flag action in this one. Still 12 cars though on the lead lap, so nothing says that this thing is going to be able to stretch it out a long run to the end of this one. And again, if Slate and Powell have anything to do with it, I would expect them to go to make the move right off for the restart. That's when they'll be the closest to the back end of Carpenter.
Absolutely, that 08 and 55 seemed like they made a lot of ground on the low side there, and I think the 05 of Butler there showed you it just takes one little slip up and you could be riding that freight train on the outside for quite a bit of time. So 10 laps to go, or we're on lap 16 here, going to restart on 17. Plenty of time for them to make up some spots.
If this could be one of the final restarts of the afternoon, as far as LCQ racing comes, AJ Rogers going to be in control once more. As he waits on the green light to turn on. Back and away we go for the 17 of Rogers. Fletcher right there, side by side to turn 1.
9 more laps to go. Fletcher going to be sticking with the 17 of Rogers. We haven't seen that much on these restarts here, Evan, and the caution's going to be out, so he's not going to be able to use that run at all going off into 3.
It's Carpenter, the driver who is in the final transfer position, is out of this thing. Talked about how Slayton Powell would want to be aggressive, and it was the 08 machine who got sandwiched on the back of the 6 and in front of the 05. He got pushed up the hill a little bit, tagged Brad Carpenter, and both he and that 3 car go around, and 2 drivers who were in are now out of this thing just like that.
Well, my prediction that the 05 and the 08 going to be aggressive there. Do a much better prediction than my March Madness bracket out there. Brad Carpenter puts it into the wall, and then the 05 and 08 just nowhere to go right now. And you look on the grid right now, you got 2 guys, Tommy Ryan and Randy Yoakum, who have just been biding their time, and they've moved up into the top 4 looking to transfer on to the main event tonight.
Randy Yoakum is going to be the one who picks up the pieces. Wasn't even one of the drivers we were talking about being in a fight for the number 4 spot. Leapfrogs all the way from 7th position, and now all of a sudden he's in 4th spot, and realistically, Chris, just looking to have to hold on for maybe 3 laps or so by the time we go back green to be able to get that spot locked up. The problem here is that 4th and final transfer spot that's locked in. Again, you might get lucky, 5th or 6th position, get a provisional. If nobody outside of those top 4 spots gets the points provisional from last year, you might still get in. So top 6 is not absolutely out of the question, but everybody wants to get top 4 just to lock it up. But when you're in 4th position, you're on the outside of row 2, and the inside has by far and large on these very short stints been the place to be. So you're going to be automatically on the defensive if you're the 9 car and in a really bad spot.
You're exactly right. You don't want to be that guy on the bubble, and that's exactly what Randy Yoakum is at this moment in time. And you're saying that he's going to have to hold him off for maybe 3-4 laps. That's at the most, Evan, because of how aggressive these guys have been at the start of these LCQs and even at the end of the LCQs. He might even only have to make it to maybe the back stretch. So you just got to play your cards right and make sure you're not on the receiving end of one of those bumps that has brought out the cautions here time in and time out. You just got to survive. That's the name of these LCQs, is just survive and make sure you're in one of those transfer spots. But that's a lot easier said than done.
We're just waiting for the magic number to come up. How many laps are going to be left to go in this LCQ? Again, our 2 main events still coming up after this. Part of the Cars eSport Tour on LSR TV and iRacing Live. The late model stocks up next. 100 laps of main event racing. It'll be followed by the first super late model main event of 2018 100 lap main event as well. All of that though, once we decide who's gonna race in them. Lights out on top of the pace car, 3 laps to go. You either race it out to the end or a yellow's gonna end it at this point. No more restarts.
Yeah, going to be a quick one here. Quick turnaround, single file restarts here. It looks like that 17 car, AJ Rogers, he's in the catbird seat right here. All he has to do is get a great restart, and I'm sure he's locked in. But that 3rd and 4th position is going to be under assault here as they're about to take it to the green.
Green flag back in the air for the single file restart. Rogers, Fletcher, Rod, and Yoakum. The fight between the 9 and the 01 would be the one for the final transfer spot, but the 6 makes a mistake. Tommy Ryan way up the hill in 1 and 2 brings it back down.
Yeah, it's so hard to watch the battle because you want to watch this battle for the final transfer spot because you see that 0-1 of Dustin Turnage all over the back bumper of the 9 of Randy Yoakum, but you also can't forget about the side-by-side battle for the lead between Rogers and Fletcher. Fletcher on the inside looking to take the lead away and trying to watch, so we're going to have to bounce back between these transfer spots because there's so much action going on in all places of the track right now, Evan.
First and second both make it in, but they want to fight for it. White flag in the air for Dawson. Fletcher on the inside of the racetrack takes it away from your pole sitter, and the 71 car to the race lead. Final time in quarter number 4, and he is going to have just enough. What matters the most, Fletcher with the LCQ win, Rogers, Ryan, and Yoakum, the top 4 who are moving on.
Well, it looks like some smart racing, some clear heads out there. Obviously, Rogers could have ran Fletcher really hard for that win here in the LCQ, the final LCQ of the night. But you got to think he's thinking in the back of his mind, the last thing I want to happen is some sort of contact to put him out of this thing. So a smart move there by Rogers. He was a dominant car all day, but Fletcher made the move at the end to take down the win.
That's your second of 2 LCQs on the night. We set the field for the late model stocks. Set the field for the SLM. So we'll take this opportunity to step aside. In the meantime, what we do, we'll take a look at the Cars Response Energy Tour late model stock recap for Myrtle Beach Speedway over the weekend. And when we come back, we'll do it on the sim side of things. You're watching the Cars eSport Tour on LSR TV, your home for sim racing.
Ty Gibbs and Dexter Knight Jr. make their way to the Jericho Performance Restart Box, and we are underway. The Baker Distributing 200, presented by Honeywell, is green. Gibbs going to lead lap number 1. Behind him, the battle is for 3rd. Well, make that 4th. So McCarty already back to position number 6 as Ronald Hill moves to 5th. Here comes Ryan Repko trying to take position number 6 away from McCarty. He'll likely wrestle it away rather easily as they work their way out of turn number 4. Well, there you see Lee Pulliam. And Pulliam off turn 4. And there is Ty Gibbs. That's the distance from Pulliam in 27th place back to the leader, Ty Gibbs. Oh boy, if Ty Gibbs can get to Lee Pulliam, this might be a game changer before this one's over with, especially if more cars go a lap down. Man, there you see the gap. Could happen at any point. And there it is. Caution is out. Yeah. After the one and only competition yellow, after 40 consecutive green flag laps, Ty Gibbs leads him back off the turn number 1. You see everybody land rush in that first set of turns. Up top, Dexter Knight Jr. making it happen underneath the Ronald Hill in the 74. Here trying to make his way forward. And look at Justin Johnson down on the rumble strips in turn number 1 underneath the Ty Gibbs. Closing in on halfway, Justin Johnson looking to take the lead after starting back in position number 12. Will work his way out of turn number 4, halfway home in the Baker Distributing 200, presented by Honeywell. New leader Justin Johnson, new runner-up Ronald Hill, and Ty Gibbs may be learning a lesson about Myrtle Beach Speedway here sooner rather than later. Pulliam able to clear, following Josh Berry up through the field. A pair of veterans, both with success here on the Grand Strand. Something tells me they're going to be visiting Justin Johnson and Ronald Hill before this thing is over with. Meanwhile, for the lead in turn number 1, Ronald Hill to the point. Works his way around Justin Johnson, and Ronald the Thrill has decided to push the button, at least for now. New leader, Myrtle Beach Speedway, with 36 laps to go this time. Ronald Hill in command here on the Strand. Three-wire problems, turn 3. Jacob Hefner and Charlie Watson. The Randy Marion pace truck is into the pit lane. Ronald Hill spins the tires. It's 3 wide briefly on the way to turn number 1. Ty Gibbs able to take advantage as up the hill goes Matt Cox. Hill able to reclaim the spot in turn number 3. Single file now for the top two as they make their way out of the fourth turn. Hill continuing to set the pace. Meanwhile, behind him, here comes Sam Yarbrough. Here comes Barry, Pulliam, and others as Barry got a couple of spots in that restart. Look at him rocking around Pulliam and company, trying to slice his way to the front. Ooh, big bobble from Ty Gibbs there in turn 4. Could the tires be going away on that Toyota? Could he have burned them up earlier? Or was it just simply a big slide with a mistake in turn 3? We'll wait 32 laps to find out, but don't look now. Who else has crept into the picture once again? The 5, Lee Pulliam on the outside, trying to find a way around Bradley McCaskill. That puts Lee now up into the top 6. Battle for second again. Here's Pulliam underneath the Johnson. Action all around the half mile here at Myrtle Beach Speedway. Pulliam now gets around Justin Johnson, maybe not completely, as Johnson continuing to put up a fight on the outside. Vegas. But Ronald Hill would have taken those odds because he now is trying to pull away from Lee Pulliam. And in fact, last time around, they matched one another. 21-9 to 21-9. 1-8. Down to the 1,000th. They ran identical lap times last time around. Could this be the ultimate David versus Goliath story? And right now, Ronald Hill is in the biggest position of his career, leading at Myrtle Beach in the Cars Response Energy Tour with former multi-time, or actually defending NASCAR national champion breathing down his neck, both hanging it out off turn 4 with 18 laps to go. Mere inches at start-finish this time. That time again, big slide for Hill in turn 1. Pulliam right there underneath the back bumper. Could this be where he makes his move? Here comes Pulliam in turn 3. Underneath of Ronald Hill, a dead heat at start-finish. Hill continues to hold the lead with now 10 laps to go. Contact in turn 1. Pulliam sends Hill up the hill, and new leader with 9.5 circuits remaining. Tell me if you've heard this one before. Lee Pulliam to the lead here in Myrtle Beach. Ronald Hill, the race of his career, is going to come up one spot short as Lee Pulliam will lead him off of turn number 4 for the first time in his career. Lee Pulliam will go to Edelbrock Victory Lane here at Myrtle Beach Speedway in the Baker Distributing 200 presented by Honeywell. Second to Ronald the Thrill Hill. Third to Justin Johnson, Josh Berry, Bobby McCarty.
Back live from the Myrtle Beach Speedway, LSR TV's continuing coverage of the 2018 Cars eSport Tour, brought to you by our friends at the Championship Esports Association. As we get set to go feature racing for week number 2 of 2018, you just took a look at the highlights for the Cars Response Energy Tour late model stocks from this past weekend right here at the Myrtle Beach Speedway. Time for the Cars eSport Tour to take a crack at it as you welcome it back into the booth. Evan Pasoko, Chris Murdoch, Blake McCandless up top with Cisco Scarlusa downstairs. And Chris, we just saw the LCQs for both of our divisions, but it is time for the late model stocks to come back out. Second race of the season for this division, 100 laps on the scoring pylon.
Yeah, we got a little bit of a preview of the late model stock tour here with the LCQs. Evan running the iRacing Chevy Monte Carlo SS. We're going to be on a fixed setup here tonight with the perimeter chassis. Got it weighs about 3,100 pounds with a 370 max horsepower with a top speed of 160. Don't know if those cars are going to top out on that speed here tonight, but we're definitely going to see them get up and move here in a few short minutes as we get ready to go to the grid.
Of course, total distance in this one with the racetrack clocking in at just a tad bit over a half a mile in length means that 100 laps is going to equal 53.8 miles between the drop of the green and the checkered flag. Obvious big difference for the LCQs to this is there's a lot more laps and there's a lot more cars. We'll introduce you to all of them with a look top to bottom at your LSR TV starting grid. Up on the front row, pole position in this one to the 45 of Justin Trombley. Keep in mind that the top 10 positions subject to the redraw after qualifying earlier this evening. It means Dwight Beverly is going to end up in the number 2 spot. Devin Morgan starts tonight at 3rd position. He's joined at row 2 by 4th place starter Christian Peterson, and Derek Paulson rounds out your top 5.
Going in 6 is going to be Michael Hild in that 33 machine. Jeff Ward, the number 7, gonna be 7th. Tommy Ryan gonna be 8th and 9th. Goes to the 69 of Matt Crooker, and Chad Bass is gonna round out your top 10.
11th position is going to go to the 61 of James Milpockler. Will Trevicki starts in 12th. That leaves Matthew Murphy with the unlucky number 13th starting spot. 14th for Randy Oakham, and 15th is Scott Austin.
Nathan Hurlburt going to be in 16th, 17th. Douglas Miller, Jeremy Adams going to be 18th, 19th. Goes to the 3 of Brad Carpenter, and Matt Shinovsky is going to round out your top 20.
21st spot going to go to Travis Powell. 22nd, David Akello. Looking back to row 12. 23rd is Reed Rundown. Christian Murphy, 24th. And round things out, 25th, Brandon Wilkinson. Joe Burchett in 26th. And John Lydig, final of those provisional spots. He'll round out the field in 27th position. Talked about it a little bit already, but this Myrtle Beach Speedway clocking in at 0.56 miles in length. 13 degrees of banking in quarters 1 and 2, and 3 and 4, with 4 degrees on the front stretch and 3 on the back straightaway. Racetrack opened up way back in 1958. Of course, the side of the Cars Tour this past weekend, and right here, right now, about to be a part of round 2 of the 2018 Cars eSport Tour. Happy that you're hanging with us at LSR TV and iRacing Live on a Wednesday evening. Pace car down and in. It's time to rock and roll for the second race of 12 on the season. Justin Trombley and the Thrustmaster Chevrolet going to be in control of the field. So we get set to put the right foot down and say, let's go racing for the late model stocks of the Cars eSport Tour. Green flag in the air, and we're off.
And we're off and down into turn 1, looking at the 12 of Devin Morgan. Go towards the inside already of Dwight Beverly. That's going to be for your second place position, as Trombley off to a great start, leading the show. The 12 going to maybe clear the 02 coming out of 4, and he does, with Trombley leading lap 1.
Trombley out in control. Morgan slots into second spot. First fight on the racetrack is going to be for third. It is Christian Peterson on the attack. Slides up into that spot. And the 0-2 Dwight Beverly continues to struggle. He started on the outside of the front row. He might fall to 5th by the time this lap is over with. Here comes Michael Held up the inside, continuing to apply the pressure.
Yeah, that outside lane is definitely where you do not want to be, as he's able to tuck it back down. Takes it home right now in the 5th position. Like you said, Evan, starting in the 2nd spot all the way back to 5th. Sometimes you probably want to start in 3rd or 5th rather than 2nd there.
A tough break. It is part of starting on the outside. We talked about it a little bit in the LCQs, that final transfer spot in 4th was a very vulnerable spot. Get to more of that in a moment. Yellow flag is out, and a little bit of a parking lot down in the corner. Randy Oakham, Jeremy Adams, and Matt Shinovsky involved in this one. Yellow at lap number 4. Our late model stock main event, and the second look at that one on the LSR TV replay will show contact between the 89 and the 9 machine. It did look like there was position established by Jeremy Adams, pushed up maybe a little bit. 9 came down maybe a little bit, and probably Blake about as close as you can get to a racing accident early on. 2 cars fighting over 1 spot of real estate.
Well, I was about to say there, Evan, you can look on the inside there, and Jeremy Adams definitely is down there. It's not something where he, perhaps got on the apron down there or got into the corner too hard and got into the back of the number 9. It looks like the 9 drifted down, and perhaps there was a little bit of a disagreement over whose lane that was, but nevertheless, the 89 of Jeremy Adams and the 9 car caught in that of Randy Oakham.
That'll slow things down early. It was kind of sitting in the back of my mind, Chris. When are we going to see the first yellow? Obviously had a lot of them, but a late model stock LCQ. Yes, 100 laps is still not a lot of time, but in the grand scheme of things, plenty more than the 25-lap dashes that we saw earlier tonight in the LCQ. So I was kind of curious how aggressive people would be right out of the gate, and we did see some great fighting up front. Dwight Beverly lost a couple of fights, fell from 2nd to 5th, had a couple of drivers pick up some positions, and those 2 drivers in the back there weren't really overdriving it. I think just got caught in a tough position, got together, and it's what has us slowed down. But the amount of yellows we have over the course of this night could be a big indicator on obviously what you can do and what you can't do with strategy. Could be a determining factor in who's got a shot at this thing.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see the aggression meter really ramp up here, Evan, because like you mentioned, a little bit longer than the 25. We got 100 laps to go through here tonight, so maybe a little bit more laxed on the first few laps, but we're definitely going to see that go up because, as we mentioned at the top of the broadcast here, 100 laps is not that long at this track, and it really takes a while to get your passes made, and really takes a lot to formulate them. So as we see the pace car go off, we're going to see a lot of these drivers maybe take it easy the first few laps, but it's definitely going to ramp up here very, very soon.
Already doubled up, getting set for another restart. Trombley on the inside, going to be in control. Devin Morgan this time steps up to go to the outside of the racetrack. That number 2 spot, not kind to Beverly. We'll see what the 12 can do up there this time as we go back underway. And Trombley tries to get clear coming out of turn number 2. Morgan keeping him honest, though, side by side for the race lead.
They go into turn number 3, and how about that 12 hanging strong on the outside, able to use that momentum off the corner, move Devin Morgan to the top spot, and move that 45 back to second, who's under assault by Christian Peterson for third on the outside.
Peterson is known to be very aggressive. He's somebody else who's very familiar to this Myrtle Beach Speedway and a late model stock on Wednesday nights at LSR TV, albeit the 23 car outside going to get it, move Peterson up to second.
Yeah, Peterson definitely on the move. He's one of those drivers who is very familiar to this track, very familiar to the Cars Tour and the CEA, getting a back-to-back super late model championship over the past seasons, and now looking to maybe do the same here in the late model stock. Going to be traveling down, trying into turns 1 and 2, trying to catch that 12 of Devin Morgan. Meanwhile, side by side for that third place position, that's going to be the 33 of Michael Hill and the 45 of Justin Trombley. Trombley trying to hold on the inside, but that outside line just looks too much to handle right now, because look, just behind that 33, it's going to be the 69 of Matt Cucker, and we know how good he is on that outside line here at this track, Evan.
And what that's telling to me is obviously a lot of it comes down to either momentum or simply driving style, maybe a little bit of both put together, because very early in this with Blake, we saw struggling up top to White Beverly. All the drivers who passed him on the inside of the racetrack. The inside was stronger all night in the LCQs, but now you're seeing pulls that are Justin Trombley lose 2, 3, and now maybe 4 spots to cars on his outside. So he should be doing good on the inside of the racetrack, but not working for him. So quite the contrast to what we saw at Beverly, what we're seeing right now at Trombley's 45.
It certainly is, and the trouble is still not over for him. Jeff Ward now trying to take advantage there on the outside. I think Trombley able to finally slide up after surrendering the 5th spot, and now looks like on the inside Jeff Ward is going to dive down there, and perhaps it's just something on that Trombley machine that is going to miss, because right now he's just falling through the back of this field, albeit the inside or the outside line right now.
Already 16 laps into the work so far here tonight from the Myrtle Beach Speedway. Still Devin Morgan leading this late model stock main event, but a battle for the race lead may be shortly on the horizon. Christian Peterson is there in the number 23 car. Took a look to the outside that time, taking a little bit of a different run through the quarters, really focusing on getting a good run off. Seems like he's trying to set the 12 up to make a move. Hasn't been able to yet, but those top 3 are still on top of each other.
And this is all Peterson really needs to do at this moment in time, Evan. Not really push 2 things. We're only on lap 18 of 100, so still a lot of racing left to go here at Myrtle Beach for these late model stocks, but you really just want to apply that pressure, and that's exactly what Christian Peterson is doing and what he's so good at. He's applying the pressure, making Devin stay on his toes and maybe even make a mistake or 2 here or there, but he can't afford to really wait around too long, because if you look just behind him, that 33 of Michael Hill slowly creeping into the picture, and right now coming through 3 and 4, he's going to be there. So Peterson really needs to try to get the position, and just as I say that, he does move him to the inside, and 1 and 2 slightly washes up, but not going to quite clear the 12 coming out of 2.
Not going to be able to get around him, so Peterson tucks in line, and typically this is where we would expect to see Peterson just back it off. He's very good at conserving the tires, but obviously wants to get out in front. He's going to have to wait just as we take lap 21, another yellow.
And there you see the balance of long run speed versus short run speed coming into play as the caution will come back out for the second time this evening. Looks like the 89 of Jeremy Adams perhaps involved in another one here.
Well, started with the 43 of Reed Rundell. He was able to escape all of this. Looked like he might have pinched that 5 car as Scott Austin up a little bit too much, and it was Austin who got plowed into the outside wall, ended up the wrong way around, and the 5 car ends up bringing out the yellow at lap 21. So longest bit of green flag action we've seen so far tonight. Fantastic racing throughout the field, including that battle for the race lead, but past 1/5 distance, we slow him down.
You're going to slow him down once again here, Evan. It looks like these first few cautions coming out here is really just a matter of real estate issues. Just drivers maybe misjudging or getting loose and washing up the track and really just running out of room to make it work. And that's what we saw with the first caution. And that's exactly what we saw here, just washing up and pinning that 5 car into the wall, which is what you never want to see happen, especially this early on. Already just crossed lap 23. So definitely going to be interesting to see. So Peterson, by far the biggest talk of that green flag run, making his way from 4th to 2nd and then all over the back bumper of that 12 machine, but maybe looking at him to move down and let the lap cars go by. Not really sure what I was seeing there, but Peterson definitely on the move, but you cannot forget about that 33 of Michael Hill.
Somebody else to keep an eye on as well, Jeff Ward in the number 7 machine. Haven't talked all that much about the driver who sits right now in the number 5 spot. He's picked up a few from starting 7th. Jeff Ward comes into tonight as your leader in the late model stock championship standings with a win in the season opener 2 weeks ago when we opened all of this up from the Stafford Motor Speedway. Jeff Ward, Christian Peterson, Matt Cucker, Devin Morgan, and Tommy Ryan, your top 5 in the championship headed into tonight. Matthew Murphy, Ryan Doucette, Jerry Watkins, James Milbachler, and Randy Yoakum to round out through the top 10 as head into tonight's action and championship standings. Obviously, with only one race in the back pocket, correlates exactly to how those drivers came across the start-finish line as of that last time out. But for the likes of Devin Morgan and company, a lot more drivers here with us for this second week of action. And let's go out on top of the pace car. We'll do it again. 25 down, 75 to go. It'll be a restart at quarter distance. Christian Peterson is going to be on the inside of the racetrack because control car Devin Morgan has elected the outside. Race control not going to like it though. They'll swap them back up. The 12 is forced to the inside, and now they are back in the order that you would expect. So the 12 is the control car on the inside. Christian Peterson up top could be lethal though. He just needs to get a good restart. Green flag back in the air. Not a picture perfect one, but he's still on him.
He is. He'll hold it, maintain it on the outside, but right now Morgan looks to slide up in front of him off of corner number 2. He's going to complete the pass and maintain the lead, but right now you look back, Matt Kocher has his hands full with the 33 down there. 2 wide for first, 2 wide for the 3rd spot as well.
Now again for the race lead, 3rd still fighting. Cocker on the outside of Michael Held. The battle for the race lead. Here we go. Peterson with a big run. You saw that Morgan wanted to take the outside on the restart. However, the race control would not allow that to stay. The 12 machine did not properly notify that he wanted to choose the outside of the racetrack. It is an option, but you have to call it out on open driver radio. The 12 did not. Peterson got the outside, and now Peterson has got the race lead with the pass for the number 1 spot at lap number 28.
Move that 23 to the lead is now Matt Cucker going to be making his way, trying to track down that 12 machine and get him up to 2nd. Meanwhile, behind them, 2 wide battle between the 45 of Trombley. Trombley gets a little bit of contact with that 33, sending him way up the track. So going to add Tommy Ryan to that mix side by side. Tommy Ryan, they're almost 3 wide there. So Trombley's day going from bad to worse. He just cannot seem to figure out what's going on at this track because no matter what lane that 45 tries to go in, he's just getting freight trained, losing another 2 to 3 positions right there. So that 45, who once started on the pole, moving quickly to the back.
And then how the tides have changed for Trombley. Things are not going to get any easier as you fall back there, simply because there's just going to be more and more traffic. It's going to be a little bit more difficult for you to get out of your race car what you want. hopefully for Trombley, he can pick things back up, and he doesn't go any lower than 8th position. He's one of the big losers so far. How about a big mover towards the front? Douglas Miller, the last driver who just got around in Blake, 17th to 7th. Not even the biggest mover on track. Those honors go to Brandon Wilkinson in 10th, who's up 15.
Yeah, these guys, and again, this is a long race, much longer than the last chance qualifiers that we saw earlier tonight, and that's going to reward some patience here if you're able to avoid some of these accidents and keep your car clean. That's going to reward some guys like Douglas Miller, like Brandon Wilkinson, who are able to work their way up from the back of the pack.
To watch how all of that plays out. Wilkinson may have had a small issue, but it looks like he's okay, and there's going to be contact behind him. Dwight Beverly going to get turned. The O2 car's into the outside wall, and there's another caution.
Yeah, gonna be rewinding this back once again, and it looks like the O2 and the 30 just get into it. That 30 of Will Dravicki going into turns 3 and 4, and once again Evan just running out of real estate. It looked like the O2 was coming down while the 30 was moving up the racetrack, and that's just contact for the O2 in the door, and that's never what you want to see because he went sideways and then tried to correct, and just a little bit of an overcorrection right there into the turn 4 wall, going to end that O2 of Dwight Beverly's night.
Talked about the 13 degrees of banking we have here at the Myrtle Beach Speedway. That equates to very little lateral grip, and you get two drivers like that. Again, very similar to Blake, what we saw earlier on tonight. I don't think it's clear cut who drove down on who cut down on who. It's just really a situation where two cars get together, and when you're leaning on somebody like that on that left rear quarter panel going into the corner, it's typically going to end with somebody around, and another tough break for both of the cars involved in that one.
Yeah, it definitely is. You can look at the 30 of Will Deverke, and I mean, you can watch his right tires kind of straddling that inside line, those white stripes that indicate that bottom lane here in turns 3 and 4 at the Myrtle Beach Speedway. You can see it doesn't drift up a lot, though, too, perhaps moving down a little bit there, but nevertheless, though, too, got the worst end of it as he went head-on into the turn 4 wall.
Obviously heavy damage on the cars involved. They are going to be headed down to the pit lane to get service. Other than that, no other notable breaks scheduled for this race. We are still within the possibility of having a competition yellow if this race were to go green for a long enough period of time. Once that period of time would bleed into the final 20 laps of this race, you would waive any competition yellows if this race were to stay green to that point. A lot of that will ride on if we go back green before or after the lap 40 marker. We work on lap 37 right now. We'll cross the halfway point at about 13 laps. When we do get to that point, we'll take an opportunity to look top to bottom at your iRacing midway race break, but it does look like, just based on where we sit now, we are going to be clear of any competition yellows for the rest of this race.
Yeah, the comp yellow kept getting pushed back. It started in the 40s at 49, and then we pushed it back to 65. But now with this latest caution, we're going to be clear of the competition cautions. Race control feels that everything is up to par, and these drivers should be good to go to the end if they could allow it on their own terms. So race control going to step away from that duty and maybe get everybody double filed up depending on whether lights go off on the pace car this time.
Peterson, Morgan, Cucker, Ward, and Held 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in running order as we sit at the moment. As always, coverage of the Cars eSport Tour on LSR TV is brought to you by Joel Real Timing, the official timing software of LSR TV. Whether you spend your time on the sim from behind the wheel, on the pit box, or at the spotter stand, JRT is your go-to software for iRacing timing and scoring analytics. You can get yourself the basic download today or buy the full pro version by logging on to joel-real-timing.com. Official timing partner of LSR TV. Getting set to go at it again. Peterson in control, does notify race control he wants the top. 23 on the outside of the racetrack as we go back underway. It's going to be a dead heat. 3 wide behind the 31 of Miller. Almost into the grass, backs out of it. Bumper cars a little bit. We make it through 1 and 2 as we fight for the race lead.
And if it's a broken record, Justin Trombley ended up on the high side of that 3 wide battle, bumped back And it looks like he's going to be scored in the 9th position after being bumped there to the outside. Douglas Miller, though, one of those guys we were mentioning, working his way up through this field, now up to the 8th spot. But look out front, there's a battle for the lead once again between Peterson and Morgan.
And Morgan did the best he could on the inside of the racetrack. He stayed even with him. That was courtesy of a good jump out of the gate. But again, Peterson chose the top because he likes the top side of the racetrack. So he'll win out in that battle. And Matt Cucker now slides into the number 2 spot. Somebody who, surprisingly, haven't talked all that much about. Has kept himself out of the spotlight. You blink, he's in P2. Matt Cucker wants to bring it to Christian Peterson. That's a familiar fight in the Cars eSport Tour.
You're absolutely right. Our 2017 Summer Series champion, that 69 of Matt Cucker, going to try to get clear of that 12 of Devin Morgan, this time in 3 and 4, and he might just do it, and he does. So now he has his sights set on that 23, and didn't we see this a lot in the Myrtle Beach Simulation Series, Evan, with the CEA? These two battle it out so well, so hard, but also so clean. So looking at Matt Cucker trying to track down the 23 of Christian Peterson, move that 69 machine up to second.
Quite refreshing to be able to watch those two go at it and race hard, but it is good, clean, hard, short track racing. Definitely an amount of respect between the drivers of the 23 and the 69, and they could be battling for the race lead here in just a little bit. Devin Morgan still not willing to give up on all of this. Sits into number 3rd spot. Jeff Ward just behind in 4th, and then a little bit of a bigger gap back to Tommy Ryan, who sits 5th. Single file till you get back to 8th. That's where the fight it is. Douglas Miller and Michael Held going at it in a battle what was for 7th spot. 31 wins out.
31 wins out, and that's going to move Trombley up to the high side. Michael Held trying to hold on the bottom, going down into turn number 1. Held sliding up the racetrack. No contact made, though. Trombley disciplined, holding him down there. He's going to check up, and he's going to surrender that 8th spot to Trombley. So Trombley, perhaps maybe learning the outside line here, he's able to overtake that car who surrenders that 8th spot to him.
Probably takes the spot away. Held going to fall to 9th. There's a couple of big movers behind him. I mentioned Brandon Wilkinson. He is still at plus 15 positions. He's in 10th. Plus 15 means he started back in 25th. And also Joe Burgett has followed him right through the field. Started behind him at 26, runs behind him at 11th. And a caution flag going to come. But again, a couple of cars in this one. David Kello and Derek Paulson around it. And looks like what's turn number 4.
Yeah, gonna look to get this one reround up on the screen. Looks like the 4, the 27, just like you mentioned, gonna be involved in this one. Looks like a little bit of contact though stemmed from the 4 of Derek Paulson and that 8 machine. So it looks like that's where it started, that 8 of Matthew Murphy. Gonna get hard in the back bumper of that 4 machine, gonna send him around into the inside wall, and just a little bit of an overcorrection by Paulson up into the 27 of Kilo, and that's where that caution stems from. Both of them parked on the outside of turn 4.
And the easy answer to armchair quarterback it is to say just spin that one out, let her go. And it was obviously that snap back up the hill that collected David Akillo, made that accident a lot worse than it really does. We're across the halfway point, though, now in tonight's race. So as we work on a yellow, let's take a look at our iRacing midway race break, brought to you by iRacing, the world's premier online racing game with professionally organized racing by the likes of NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, Global Rallycross, the World of Outlaws, and so many more. At lap number 51, Christian Peterson is leading your race. Matt Cucker has slotted into the number 2 spot, with Devin Morgan, Jeff Ward, and Tommy Rind rounding through the top 5. James Milbachler scored in 6th at the moment. 7th is Douglas Miller. Justin Trombley is 8th. Michael Held is 9th, and Brandon Wilkinson in 10th.
Yeah, I've mentioned Brandon Wilkinson and Joe Burchett, who's going to be the driver in 11th multiple times throughout the night here. The one of Chad Bass going to be 12th, 13th Travis Powell, John Lyday 14th, 15th Will Dravicki, Reed Rundle is going to be 16th, 17th Christian Murphy, Matthew Murphy going to be 18th, 19th goes to Derek Paulson, and David Killo round out your top 20 who were just involved in that last caution.
And then 21st position is now Killo as he gets dropped down another spot. 13 laps down. 22nd is Jeremy Adams. Dwight Beverly parked in the pit stall 23rd. He's about to lose that position to still active 24th place runner Scott Austin. Brady Carpenter is in the pit box getting repairs in 25th. So is Matt Shadowski in 26th. That's looked off the bottom at your iRacing Midway race break. For more information on the wide variety of sim racing possibilities online, you can visit iRacing.com to sign up today. And thanks to our friends at Red Bull Global Rallycross, you can now visit iRacing.com/membership and use the promo code PR-GRC for an opportunity to start your career on iRacing with a 3-month subscription for only $5. Again, that's promo code PR-GRC. It is valid on new iRacing memberships only. If you want to get the 3-month deal, you'll see if you go to iRacing.com/membership, all new memberships are 40% off. So you jump on the sim and get started racing today. Back in the race here now, the lights out on top of the pace car. 54 laps going to be down, 46 laps going to be left to go on the board, and we're going to have a rematch now. Peterson in control of the field, once again electing to take the outside for the restart play. Going to be Cucker on the inside. We'll see what the 69's got down low.
Yeah, we'll see what he has. Peterson again trying to show that he has been strong on the top side all night. I think he's going to hold strong here as we bring it to the green flag.
Starts off and away. The 23 machine again has had the better runs off of the corner up top, but he has not had to go side by side yet with Matt Cucker. Green flag is back into the air. Past halfway, we start to count down towards the end of this first race on tonight's Cars Myrtle Beach 200 late model stock main event. Currently working lap 55-100. The super late's going to be doing 100 laps right after this, so keep it locked at LSR TV and iRacing Live. But Peterson clear on the outside of the racetrack, defends the race lead.
They were side by side for that whole lap, Evan, until coming off of turn 4. Then Peterson was able to edge him out. Matt Cucker going to have to surrender back to second place with Devin Morgan waiting patiently just behind those two. Meanwhile, just behind them, Ryan and Ward going to go side by side. Almost a little bit of contact, and no contact, but caution back through the back of the pack.
Like it's going to be Trombley and Jeremy Adams, two drivers who were well off and down the running order, going to be involved in this one. Adams, an innocent victim from a couple of laps down. It was Trombley who found himself at the mercy of Michael Held. It was a battle for 9th and 10th position. Held just completely missed the entry on the corner of that one, tagged the 45 at the left rear, and it was off from there.
I was about to say he was the only one that didn't miss the entry right there. The 33 gets into the 45, and then it looks like the 55 sent of Travis Powell sent into the back of that machine as well as he got shoved from behind. So it looks like just a lot of not checking up here into corner number 1, and that makes this accident a lot worse than it could have been.
Obviously, it always tends to be on the shorter tracks like this, Chris, the drivers who aren't involved in the initial contact that tend to get the worst of it, and that's how you kind of get from a 2 or 3 car incident to a handful of cars up involved into the outside wall. That one of the bigger ones we've seen tonight.
You're exactly right, and hopefully that's the biggest wreck we see here tonight. Want as many clean cars to finish this race as possible, Evan. Maximize the amount of green flag action we get to see here tonight, because up towards the front, it is really starting to heat up. We saw the battle between Christian Peterson, Matt Cucker start to heat up. Jeff Ward, Tommy Ryan, James Milbachler. Haven't really talked about that 61 machine a lot. He's from 11th up to 6th now, and then right behind him, that 31 of Douglas Miller, going to be 17th to 7th, and we're starting to see that 56 of Brandon Wilkinson start to make his way up to the top 10. So we'll look to see those drivers, see if they can get up here, maybe challenge Christian Peterson, Matt Cucker, maybe get up there for the battle for the lead.
You can see just how hard of a hit it was there in a couple of shots ago when you were on board with Michael Held as he got punted into the outside wall. Now we're going to start to see, though, I think this race get a little bit chippy. Restart going to come with less than 40 laps to go. We're not quite at LCQ territory yet, Blake, but at this point you got to be thinking, all right, if I haven't gotten into striking distance, top 5 I think is that goal. If I'm not there yet, I'm going to have to make it happen soon. I'm going to be running low on options. Obviously, green flag laps are running out. There can only be so many restarts. I need to get up there. So for somebody like a Wilkinson, who went from 25th to now 8th spot on track, he's done a fantastic job. He's your hard charger. but I don't think you're going to win the race from 8th position. So look for somebody like that to be making very aggressive moves, try to get 1 or 2 right off of the bat while everybody's grouped up and try to make that extra step, get them a little bit closer to being in contention, and that I think is where some of the problems could arise from.
Well, absolutely, Evan. If you look at our top 10, only the top 5 actually started in the top 10 on the grid to start this one. So that shows you that a lot of contact with some of these guys that have been racing hard at the front of this field. Looks like it hasn't turned out too well for them. So these guys that have had to work their way up through the field as a result of missing some of these accidents, look for them to be a little bit aggressive. But I think they're also realistic about it too, that unless something happens up front, they may just be looking to bring it home for a top 5 today.
Double it up once more. Peterson to Cucker, round number 2. Of course, you can never count out the likes of Morgan and Ward back there on a row at number 2 as well. Green flag back in the air with 38 to go. The 12 was looking a little bit rambunctious. Thought about the inside, stays back. And we are side by side for P1. Interesting that the 23 Peterson chose the bottom this time. He was very good topside last time around.
Stole the words right out of my mouth this time, Evan. We're just going side by side for a lap, but swapping the lanes, because the 23 of Christian Peterson going to be on the inside as Matt Cucker tries to get around him on the outside, but that 23 really holding his own, really shows that he can do it wherever he is at on this racetrack, going to be on the bottom or the top, but Matt Cucker looks to slowly be edging out just in front of that 23, maybe looking to clear him off of 2, but Christian Peterson going to come into 1 and 2 and even it right back up. Such an even race for this top 2. And where do you go if you're Devin Morgan, Jeff Ward? All you can really do is wait and see who wins or if this even gets sorted out, because these guys are battling super hard as now Matt Cucker looks to clear it and Christian Peterson just won't let it happen.
You have to wonder if that's a misstep on behalf of the 23 machine here, Blake, to give Cucker the outside of the racetrack and get Peterson to use the outside to get to the front. He chose the outside on the last time they were side by side for a restart, got the race lead back no problem. And now that Matt Cucker has the outside, he's giving him trouble. They're still nose to nose, but Cucker's been within about 2 or 3 feet of clearing him several times.
Well, I'll tell you what, we know Christian Peterson loves the outside, but he is holding much stronger than just about anybody we've seen tonight on the inside lane. They've had about a 4 or 5 lap battles. It looks like he may give way just now, but it looks like Peterson's still able to hold strong. So it looks like no matter which lane Peterson goes to, he's going to be a factor in this one.
Will not give up. That is something that you can expect out of the 23, but finally, the 69 of Matt Cucker is going to get it. He had led a couple of laps before this, but he is clear, and he is your new race leader at lap number 69. And my concern was, okay, if you're Peterson, you don't want to lose the battle for the race lead, that's one thing, but you don't want to get stuck on the bottom, and Devin Morgan is doing his best to keep the 23 down there. Peterson entered a little bit high into 3, tried to push the 12 out of the groove, and Morgan isn't taking any of that. We are side by side for second. Your race leader, at time race leader, Peterson, as of a couple of laps ago, falls to 3rd.
And this is what happens when a minor lane change, Evan, can turn into a huge whirlwind of mistakes, because he went from first to losing the position to Matt Cucker to immediately losing that 2nd place position to Devin Morgan. Now look who's on the creep. It's going to be that 7 of Jeff Ward looking to make his way back up there. We know that he's a little bit on the fast end here tonight. He's been around the top 5, top 10 all day, and then just behind him, the 61 of James Milblocker are going to be hanging around that top 5 from 11th. So a lot of these drivers starting to make their way up towards this lead, and look at Devin Morgan all over the back bumper of the 69 of Matt Cucker. Maybe Devin Morgan is not out of this thing yet, got a second win maybe, as he's using that inside line and outside line to his advantage to catch Matt Cucker.
And Matt Cucker wants to just be able to get away, stretch the legs out a little bit, and take it easy as we enter the final quarter of this race. But I don't think much of this race, Blake, has been that tame, because even though Morgan's been able to get around Peterson, he's still being hotly contested by the 23. So he's really got no choice. If you're Devin Morgan, you can't sit back in second, or Peterson's probably going to make a move on you. So he's forcing you to try to get around Cucker before he gets back to your bumper, and that's what makes this top 3 a swarm for the race lead.
Well, not only that makes it a great battle, is that these guys have been battling super hard, but it has been completely clean all day long. Especially you saw it there between Cucker and Peterson, that side-by-side battle for about 5 or 6 laps. It's just some masterful driving, some really high-quality drivers here, as they, even though despite their battle, they're still continuing to pull away from that 7 and the rest of this field, so those guys definitely have quite a pace to them.
Back that pace to keep up as we get 3/4 of the way home. And the late model stock main event tonight from Myrtle Beach Speedway with the Cars eSport Tour. 25 to go. That last time by, it is still Cucker, Morgan, Peterson, 1, 2, and 3. Of course, full running order going by at the top of your screen. You can follow along with all 15 drivers that are skill scored on the lead lap of the 26 who started this race in that positioning. Although I think I'm finally starting to see the 69 in front get some space on everybody else.
Yeah, and just as the 69 of Cucker is looking to open up that gap, look at Christian Peterson. Maybe a resurgence here, because now he's all over the back bumper of Morgan, trying to look towards the inside in 1 and 2, but Morgan going to really shut the door coming out of there, and a caution's going to be out, so Peterson's going to have to wait just a little bit to maybe try to make that pass on that 12 machine.
When we mentioned that we are going to be clear of having any of those competition yellow flags, so this is an incident on the racetrack that is going to slow us down, and it was a spinner at a turn number 2, the 6 of Tommy Ryan, all on his own really, was running in 6th position, and oh, there was the help, the 31 machine. You'll get a good look at this. Douglas Miller really didn't overdrive the quarter by much, but just got in on the left rear, and time again tonight, we have been shown that the slightest bit of contact on that part of the race car is bad news.
It is. It looks like that 6 machine trying to play nice, looking out front at James Milbachler. And it looks like Ryan was just trying to stay off of that 61, perhaps trying to arc it to get a good run off of the corner. And then the 31, like you said, not putting it in there too aggressively, but getting in there just enough to give him enough of a tap to turn him around. Nobody else goes around here, but that 6 car, after running in the 6th spot right there, is going to be in the back of the pack after that one.
So he'll fall down the ladder. Looks like he found his water wings at about 13th or so, with 15 total cars scored on the lead lap. Reed Rundell is down pit road, so he'll obviously end up in front of him. Rundell, one of the drivers who has been on and off of pit road a couple of times tonight, just trying to keep that car in competition. I did say there were 15 on the lead lap. We're probably close to 23 or so of the 26 who started this race actually still on track. Some of them are stationary in their pit stalls trying to get fixed to the point where they would be allowed to go back out on track, but not a lot of drivers have pulled the plug and completely dropped out of this race. So a healthy field size as we come inside of the final 20 laps.
Healthy indeed, and that's exactly what we like to see here on week 2 of the Cars Tour. Definitely a whole lot of racing left to go, but a win here for maybe Matt Cucker, Devin Morgan, Christian Peterson, or even Jeff Ward. Maybe even the top 5 are all still in this thing, Evan, to get it done. Like you mentioned, we're really winding down the laps, which means the aggression is really going to ramp up here in the final few laps of this race. But a win here could really mean a good swing of momentum for the next few weeks. So definitely going to be watching all these drivers up in the top 5 to see how aggressive they are coming to these green flag laps.
We'll just see how many laps are going to be left to green flag action. You have to think if there was anything that the guys up front were hanging back on now, Blank, that it's the time to go. It's no holds bar at this point. You could very easily have a 16-lap sprint to the end gone in the blink of an eye, so I think you got to treat this one like the last restart.
Oh, no question, Evan. You never know when that yellow flag is going to come back out again and probably take away 5 or 6 laps of action. So these guys, especially here on this restart, are going to be trying to make up every position that they can.
See if this is indeed one of, if not the final restart on the night. Car and Matt Cucker chooses the outside. That's how he got to the race lead last time. After 23 of Peterson, who was leading at the time, chose the bottom of the racetrack. So Morgan inside, Cucker outside on the front row. 17 laps away from a late model stock checkered flag, and it's a dead heat to turn 1.
Morgan gonna have an inch on Matt Cucker. Is now he's gonna really sandwich it up there towards the wall, trying to use all the track he can, going down the back straightaway to maybe clear that 69 machine. Devin Morgan still on the inside. We saw this with the 23 of Christian Peterson, but this time Matt Cucker on the outside, which he really likes. Morgan almost gets down on those rumble strips, gonna still use the all of the track that he can to try to clear Cucker. It's a dead heat and a very, very close battle up here for the front spot.
Side by side for all the marbles. Christian Peterson has not inserted himself into this at all. He sits about 2.5 car lengths off of the battle for the race lead, and at the moment just sits and watches. There's where Cucker's going to be the best, though. Outside of the racetrack, powering off of the quarters. He can pinch the 12 in the center right there, and that means the 12 can't get back to the gas, and Matt Cucker clear for the race lead with 14 laps to go.
He's cleared to the lead, and now Peterson trying to take advantage as well. The 12, they're going to slide up. Oh, some contact made between Morgan and Cucker right there. That's going to move Morgan right back into the battle on the bottom, but Cucker able to slide by on the high side, and now Peterson able to try to move on that high side. So contact made here, but they're able to collect it on lap 88 of 100.
And the 23 now getting squeezed as well. I don't think Devin Morgan meant to get into Cucker. He was trying to slide it on. He desperately does not want to get stuck at the inside of Peterson. Roughed the 23 up the last time. And this fight for second, Chris, is great news for race leader Matt Cucker.
It is, as you see Matt Cucker just pull away ever so slowly from the 12 and the 23, but look just behind them, Evan. The 7 of Jeff Ward almost inserted himself on the inside there with Devin Morgan, but thought better of it, thought he was just going to wait around. Now he's going to move toward the outside line with Christian Peterson. Devin Morgan really in some trouble here with contact made between him and the 23, trying to use all the track he can just to get back to the gas. Looks like it's shades of Justin Trombley here at the start of this race. Evan is now, the 12 is stuck on the inside line. Now Jeff Ward going to make his way by.
And that's exactly what he did not want to see, because again now he's effectively taken out of a spot to be able to fight for this thing. Peterson got second, Ward got third. Here comes Wilkinson to take fourth, and it might not stop there. Milbachler thinking about fifth on the outside. So Morgan goes from battling for the race lead to just trying to hang on to a top 5 just moments later.
Well, I think that shows you try to wear out your tires too much trying to battle up there on the bottom side. That's going to not work for you. One, you're going to allow all these drivers to stack up behind you and create a freight train on that outside, and two, your tires are obviously just completely wearing apart right now. As you look out in these top 5, you can see Brandon Wilkinson able to take advantage of the Morgan machine. Jeff Ward also coming into the picture. He's up into the 3rd spot, and Christian Peterson still trying to chase down that mighty 69 here as we come up on lap 94.
Close it into almost the point to no return. If you get inside of 5 laps left to go or less, this race is going to be official out to the end of it. Cucker trying to maintain what is a 3-car length advantage over Peterson to run second. Jeff Ward still third. Wilkinson's at race side 4th. He's gained now 21 positions. Can he get to step on a podium? Then you find Devin Morgan, who is floated down to the number 5 position. 5 laps to go with the late model stocks this time around.
Just like to make a correction there, we are not going to have the point of no return here tonight at Myrtle Beach. Race Control just confirmed that there will be green-white checkers if they do go past. There's only going to be 1 attempt, so they'll get 1 extra shot at it, Evan, and that's exactly what Christian Peterson likes to hear in case a caution does come out, because he's slowly but surely catching that 69 machine of Matt Cucker. A caution would not be grateful to Christian Peterson at this moment. I don't know if any of these drivers really want to see one. Maybe Peterson wanting to see some now because he's starting to fall off that 69 machine now, but Matt Cucker definitely wants to see this one go green to the end.
Doesn't want to have to deal with one more roll at it. I think for everybody else, your only opportunity to get a shot at a win here might be that 1 lap to go restart with the green-white checker at overtime, because the 23, he's there, but I don't think he's close enough. And in short track racing, Blake, you got to be within at least a car length, I think, to make a move. Peterson's knocking on the doorstep, but he's running out of time. Popsicle sinks in the air, 2 to go.
Exactly right, Evan. You have to be close enough, and right now, just not able to make up the necessary time to try and go make a move there. It looks like Jeff Ward slipped up a little bit, but right now, Christian Peterson just not able to bring that 69 into his clutches as the white flag is going to fly over Myrtle Beach Speedway one more time around.
And that means that this race is going to be official. We're going to race it out to the end. Matt Cucker coming into tonight with a solid result with the top 5 a week ago. But he's finally going to break through at a Wednesday night. First time this year for him on the Cars eSport Tour. Your late model stock winner from Myrtle Beach is Matt Cucker.
Matt Cucker put in a valiant effort, started on the tail end of, or the back half of the top 10, starting in 9th, going to pick up the win from Christian Peterson. You see a little bit of a love tap there from Peterson just to show the amount of respect. So the defending late model stock champion going to pick up his first win of the season. You see the previous, you see Stafford's winner Jeff Ward going up there for the congratulations. So Matt Cucker going to pick up his first win of the season here at Myrtle Beach.
It's good for him, and one of the fun things about Myrtle Beach is you can back it in and park it at Victory Lane. That's exactly what Matt Cucker does. Race winner here tonight in the late model stock division. First for him on the 2018 campaign for the Cars eSport Tour. We'll get some post-race reaction for the drive of the 60 Dot machine in just a moment. Before we do, as always, let's take a look top to bottom with a look at our LSR TV full race results. Matt Cucker goes to victory lane on top of Christian Peterson, who comes home in second. Expect those two to be making a lot of noise as the season goes on. Jeff Ward ends up third tonight with Brandon Wilkinson fourth, and Devin Morgan falling back to round out your top 5. James Milwaukee comes home in 6th. 7th spot, Will Dravicki. 8th is John Lade. Travis Powell is 9th, and Tommy Ryan is 10th.
The 8 of Matthew Murphy going to come home in 11th. Douglas Miller going to be 12th. 13th goes to Chad Bass. Christian Murphy 14th. Reed Rundell is going to be 15th. 16th Randy Yoakum. Scott Austin going to bring that car home in 17th. 18th to Derek Paulson. Joe Burchett going to be 19th, rounding out your top 20 to 33 of Michael Hill.
Justin Trombley going to bring it home 21st. 22nd is going to go to that 27 of David Colo. 23rd, Jeremy Adams. 24th to White Beverly. 25th, Matt Chinosky. And then 26th, rounding out the backless field, is going to be the number 3 of Brad Carpenter.
That's going to be a look top to bottom at your LSR TV full race results. We now go trackside and chat with the driver of the number 60 Dot machine. Your winner tonight is Matt Cucker in the late model stocks. Matt, congratulations on the win. You guys started in a little bit of a rough go there with a redraw 9th position, but that car was too fast to hold back, and by the time you guys got up front, you put it to him pretty even with Christian, which is something we've talked many a times about, but you end up on top when it's all said and done. Tell us about it.
Yeah, this 6-man Team Vincier race cars and Turn 3 Auto Transport is this car was amazing tonight. I mean, qualified. We had fast time and time trialing, and then the invert put us back to 9th. So starting back there, I knew it was going to be a uphill battle, but that was a lot harder than what I thought. I definitely didn't think the outside was going to be as dominant as it was, and luckily I was able to use it, and it was Christian's race, hands down, because I mean, the one restart, he didn't call it out in the right channel to be on the outside line, and that's what gave me the win, is I was able to start out there and then pass him on the outside. I mean, the outside was just so dominant, and hopefully in the super late model race that's coming up next, it's not going to be as dominant with it being open setups.
Well, it definitely looked like that was the turning point, because obviously you were able to fight it back and get the race lead away. And then, of course, when you were the control car for the 2 following restarts, you took the top side. What was it about that outside of the racetrack that gave you an advantage late in those very short runs?
It was just the momentum that you could keep up coming off the corner. You can keep so much more momentum, and you pinch the guy on the bottom, he can't do nothing to get by you unless he door you up the track, which as you can see, a lot of people in this league, they don't want to race like that. So I'm grateful that everyone raced me clean that way, and hopefully they can keep going like that as the races come.
We talked a lot about how we've seen this racetrack with you and Christian and other drivers alike on Wednesdays before here on LSR TV and iRacing Live, but obviously every time the Cars eSport Tour rolls around, a lot of new faces, a lot of new names. Now 2 weeks of full racing in, how do you feel like you're becoming acclimated to this field and kind of sizing up your hopes for 2018?
And I think it was thank goodness for the Myrtle Beach series, because a lot of the guys ran the Myrtle Beach series this past winter. So, I mean, it's not really a commendation to everyone that's there. It's just we all know how everybody races. There's a couple new faces, but I mean, everyone's here, and we pretty much race all the same way. We'll see what happens with the super late model. I mean, it's always a different story. So we'll see what happens.
We'll let you get out of here. It was a well-deserved win tonight. But as always, the sponsors and the shout-outs, who makes it happen for you?
I thank Team Vince here, Six-Man Race Cars, Turn 3 Auto Transport, Globalcom, Peterson Irrigation, and Scott Austin Designs for everybody. Thank you guys for broadcasting, Kyle Barnes and Cars eSport Tour, or Cars Tour, for putting us on.
Late model stock winner tonight from Myrtle Beach. Matt, we always appreciate the time. Always fun chatting with you. Congratulations on the win, and best of luck for the rest of the year here. I'm sure we'll chat soon.
Alrighty, thank you.
Trucker gets the job done at the end of it all. Another spirited battle, but he joins Jeff Ford as late model stock winners on 2018 already. So the super late models are coming up next, and there is $200 on the line. It is our main event. But as we step aside, we'll take another look back at what happened over the weekend with the Cars Tour, with a race recap for the Cars Response Energy Tour super late models from right here at Myrtle Beach, and then we'll race for $200 coming up next on LSR TV and iRacing Live.
Out for turn number 4. 2015 Series champion Rafael Lessard. Number 74, Ryan Moore, lead him off into turn number 1. Contributing ride. Currently 6th, Corey Heim 7th, and look at this, lead change, turn number 3. Jeff Fultz said, "This is my racetrack, and I'm going to show the way." Jeff Fultz to the lead on lap number 2. And look at Rafael Lessard dropping back, but that is likely by design. A former winner here, Lessard knows it's all about tire conservation. Meanwhile, so Lessard all the way back now to 10th, ahead of Matt Craig in the 54. There's Taylor Strickland in the 7, Jared Fryer, Jeff Batten in the 49. 3 wide as Preston Peltier decides he wants to motor around everybody he can, getting into turn number 1. And that's a little bit off those tires. Every time you got to drive it that hard, it takes a little bit off. Peltier goes around Lessard. Meanwhile, we're about a lap away from the competition caution. And there you see everybody has backed right up, or at least came right back up, to Jeff Fultz, who has led nearly every circuit here at Myrtle Beach. Jeff Fultz and Chandler Smith. And Fultz going to go full steam ahead, right ahead of Chandler Smith. Behind him, though, you see Rafael Lessard. Last car in the field. And Rafael has gone from first to worst. But don't panic if you're in Quebec. Don't panic. That's probably by design. Meanwhile, Chris Fontaine decided he wants to get racing. Fontaine around Jeff Fultz, and new leader. Lap number 45, Chris Fontaine to the point for the first time in his Cars Response Energy Tour career. There are the leaders. Off of turn number 4, Jeff Fultz. Underneath the Fontaine, he wants to control this race yet again. And new leader, as we'll come around to complete lap 60, Jeff Fultz back in command here at Myrtle Beach Speedway. You've probably dealt with Hut Strickland problems nearly in turn 1. Lessard and Fryer just about had contact. That was a near miss for 2 of the contenders we think may be a player here after this break. Nobody thought a whole lot about Molly Helmuth coming into this race. And here she is with 30 laps to go and caution in the air for the tire break. Molly Helmuth is in position to contend to win this race after taking. And this one appears to be a good start. Nose to nose, and will race off into turn number 1. They get it all sorted out, and they're still chasing Fultz. And here comes problems. Problems for the 33 of Preston Peltier. Up the racetrack in turn number 1. Peltier appears to have a problem. And we are off and racing one more time here at the Grand Strand. Fultz again out front, a little bit further back up the hill went Corey Heim. No harm, no foul there. As you see, here comes Rafael Lessard. Lessard up in now to the top 10, or trying to be, as he works his way around Anthony Cataldi. And the sun begins to shine here at Myrtle Beach. How much will that change this racetrack? As you see, trying to fend off Jeff Batten on the outside. 3 wide for third. Batten to third. Helmuth back to fourth. And who else is barnstorming in there? It's Ryan Moore. Keeping an eye on Rafael Lessard. Lessard up to ninth. Trying to get around Gustine for eighth. The laps are clicking away. Could the strategy of Lessard backfire? Could he have... Helmuth continuing up the track she goes, trying to move Batten maybe up the hill. Cataldi looking for a spot, possibly to even go 3 wide. Oh, problems, Helmuth! Contact, and she is up into the outside wall. Heartbreak for the driver from Seattle, Washington. Pit lane. Jeff Fultz and Chandler Smith through the restart zone. Neck and neck. Smith has the slight advantage off into turn number 1, but Fultz buries his Toyota in on the bottom. He'll get the advantage and take the lead once again as they head to the back straightaway. Final trip around the half mile here at Myrtle Beach Speedway. Jeff Fultz holding on to a car length lead over Chandler Smith. They both bury it into turn 1. Left side's right against the white line. Here comes Smith. He got a small run out of turn 2. It's a half a car length into turn 3. Smith unable to get to him, and Jeff Fultz, for the first time in over a decade, is going to win at Myrtle Beach the Cars Response Energy Tour. His first career win, and he will visit Edelbrock Victory Lane. Chandler Smith finishes second, followed by Ryan Moore, Jeff Batten, and others.
All right. Yep.
Gets the champagne. Here he comes. Checkered flag on his face and all. Out of the car, Jeff Fultz, the winner here at Myrtle Beach Speedway. We'll go down to Jacqueline Drake in Victory Lane for the interview.
Jeff.
The Triangle's biggest sports event of the spring comes to Raleigh on April 7th when the Cars Response Energy Tour visits Wake County Speedway. Tickets are on sale now for the biggest event to hit America's favorite bull ring in its entire history. The biggest late model stock car drivers like Josh Berry, Sam Mayer, Lane Riggs, and Deke McCaskill hit the quarter mile for a night full of action. April 7th, the Cars Tour at Wake County Speedway. For more information and tickets, visit carsracingtour.com.
And we're back live from the Myrtle Beach Speedway with one of our main events down and one to go. Happy that you're still with us at LSR TV and iRacing Live for our continuing coverage of the Championship Esports Association Cars eSport Tour. Super late models due up next. We just saw the checkered flag handed out in the late model stock division. That win going to Matt Kunker, his first on the 2018 season. As bring it back into the booth alongside of myself, Evan Pasoko, Chris Murdoch, and Blake McCandless. Chris, we get set for super lates. Not only is this the first super late model main event of this season, but we've also got $200 up for grabs in this feature.
Exactly, Evan, and if it's anything like our late model stock feature, or even anything like that recap we just saw from the Cars Tour in real life, who came here 1 week ago, we're gonna have an interesting race on our hands and a whole lot of action-packed racing here at Myrtle Beach.
We talked about the differences between these late model stocks and these super late models in which they counter, obviously, as you take a look at the differences now. A lot more horsepower, and that's what makes a super late model a super late model. The biggest thing, though, that I think, and we heard it when we were talking with Matt at Victory Lane, though, Blake, is the fact that this is an open setup event as opposed to where the late model stocks are fixed. So the drivers out there on track bringing their own things to the table, then on top of the 550 plus brake horsepower and all the other goodies that come with the super late.
Yeah, I think it's going to create a lot different racing than what we saw early on in that event. Generally, with the fixed setup, Matt hit the nail right on the head. You see a lot of single lane or lanes that emerge, and the whole field kind of has to adjust with it. But with these different setups, you're going to see guys running the middle lane, guys running the bottom, and a lot more fall off and just a lot of differentiation to try to shake things up. So we're definitely not going to see one lane emerge, I don't think.
We'll see how this one plays out. Same rules apply as before. It is going to be a 100-lap contest. Big thing is there is a lot more money on the line in this one particularly. Again, not all the races this year are going to have some cash prizes up for grabs. This one does. $200 up on the line. Let's introduce you to the drivers who will be gunning for it. Big field top to bottom with a look at your LSR TV starting grid. Pole position going to go to the 56. That's Brandon Wilkinson, who will bring us to the green flag tonight, to be accompanied by late model stock division winner Matt Cucker, who rolls off in second. Andrew Wooten will start tonight in third spot. Justin Trombley fourth, and Scott Austin rounds out your top 5.
The 7 of Jeff Ward is going to roll off that 6th position. The 12 of Devin Morgan going to be 7th. Joe Burchett 8th. 9th Christian Peterson. And rounding out your top 10, that 13 of GMA Fortin.
Jake Watson will start in 11th position with Jeff Coat right hand side with him on row 12 on row 6 in 12th position. Will Jabicki starts tonight in 13th spot with John Lyday 14th. Jerry Adams behind rolls off in 15th.
16 goes to that 16 of Paul Hanley. Michael Held going to be 17th. Gabe Wood in the 00 going to be 18th. 19th goes to Seth the Merchant, and William Hale going to round out your top 20.
21st spot is Jonathan Cadell. 22nd for Corey Heim. Dawson Fletcher, 24th. The 23rd for Fletcher. 24th is going to be AJ Rogers. Tommy Ryan, 25th. Randy Yoakum, 26th. Brad Carpenter, 27th. And Dwight Beverly in 28th position is a look top to bottom at your LSR TV starting grid. 100 laps on the board, a little bit more pep in the step of the SLMs and what you saw in the late model stocks, but the objective is still the same. You gotta make it to the end if you want to be in the fight when it matters the most. And well, this is also the first step towards the Super Late Model Championship, first race for them on the Cars eSport Tour for 2018. It comes at you on LSR TV and iRacing Live right here and right now as we take the green flag and off and away for the Super Late Model season. Battle for the race lead to turn 1.
Yeah, Matt Coker looking to pick up where he left off in our last race. He's going to take it to the outside and have a side-by-side battle here, and it looks like he is going to be able to maintain that lead over the 56 of Wilkinson. He's going to take the lead and maintain it yet again. Different race, same leader in Wilkinson.
56 now slides up high. Wilkinson tucks it on to second spot. I think he really wanted to get in front of the 45 of Trombley as to not get a pinch down on the bottom. The 45 will cross him over, so we will see how this one plays out with the 45 now on the bottom of the racetrack and the 56 of Wilkinson up top. He desperately didn't want to be down low, forced his way up high, got past either way Trombley into second.
And Trombley really looking for a bounce back off of that late model stock feature. Evan really just could not get a handle on the line nor the car and fell back very quickly. So good to see that 45 up there passing Brandon Wilkinson, moving his way up from 4th to 2nd pretty quickly. Meanwhile, just behind Wilkinson, you're going to have Andrew Wooten going to be trying to track down that 56 machine, and it's working because here comes the 2. Looking maybe not going to quite be there going through 1 and 2, but everybody really trying to make their moves while they can, while everybody is really grouped up right here at the start. Meanwhile, look at that 45 and the 69, maybe a battle for the lead going to be here early on here.
And expect the super lates again to race very similar to what we saw in the late model stocks. Already seen the dynamic of the inside of the outside line coming into play. If these cars though stay green, going to be a little bit of a quicker race. How about a battle for the race lead? Much quicker than what we saw last race, and that was a nice move by Justin Trombley. Very quick and precise, moving around Matt Cucker for the race lead at lap 7.
And how about Trombley, after somewhat struggling last race, falling back through the field, getting in an accident, eventually parking it after getting in that accident. He moves out to the lead, and not only that, he's beating our previous race winner, and he is building quite a bit of a lead there between the 69 of Cucker, who appeared to have the strong car early on.
That means the 69 of Cucker has to settle into second. Not always a big loss because we started this race in that very spot. Your pole sitter Wilkinson, one of the rear movers, who has dropped down to third as they run at the moment. Wooten in fourth position. Jeff Ward up one to fifth, and that's just a couple of the moves that have been happening so far, although everybody who started top 10 still there, with the exception of Guillaume Fulton, who has fallen to 13th position. Now side by side for 7th, the challenger is Christian Peterson. This time he's the one who's got to come through the field a little bit, up another spot now into P7.
Yeah, passing that 5 of Scott Austin with these. Now Austin has to really battle with the 12 of Devin Morgan. These drivers racing towards that lap 40 mark at the moment here, Evan, for the time being. That's going to be when we see the comp caution here for the super late model feature. Scott Austin going to get into some contact with that 88 of Jake Watson on the inside and lose a whole lot of spots. Going to drop him all the way back towards the 9th place position. So unfortunate for that 5 car. Meanwhile, up front, Justin Trombley opening up a decent lead on Matt Cucker here early on lap 12, coming to 13. Matt Cucker stranded out on an island all by himself, and then just behind him, the 2, I should say, of Andrew Wooten and Brandon Wilkinson look to be doing battle.
And something you also have to keep in mind is those competition cautions. We never got to the point of actually seeing it implemented in the late model stock race a little bit earlier on, but in these SLMs for sure, 40 laps is not a ton of time on track. You consider green so far at this point, just over 5 minutes at a race that Justin Trombley is working lap 14 if we get to lap 40. So any 40 laps of uncontested green flag action would lead to a yellow, unless that would bleed into the final 20 laps of this race, in which we would not be in that situation. So just something to keep in mind if you're Trombley is, I would say, work that 7/10 of a second gap. Yeah, he's pulling away from Cucker, but you are going to have to deal with a restart at some point in this race regardless of what happens. So take care of the equipment now. At the moment though, he's definitely forcing the issue more so than anybody else. Even though that last time by lap times, he was still the fastest on the racetrack with an 18.553.
Perhaps it's something a lot of these guys are looking out front at that 45 of Trombley, looking what line he's running, where his car is good, where it's bad, and perhaps testing some things out, trying to find out some things about their own car as well. Again, there's $200 on the line, and even now you see Wilkinson moving aside for that 2 car. You don't see a lot of aggressive racing right now with that competition caution on the horizon. Perhaps you're seeing some of these guys trying to see what adjustments they need, and perhaps look out front to Trombley and see if they can't learn a thing or two.
If he can maybe pick up on something like that, that is one of the gamesmanship things that you see over the course of a race like this, is somebody will pass you. And again, when we saw that Matt Cucker got passed up by Trombley, he didn't put up all that much of a fight. 45 went to the inside, was very aggressive on entry, but Matt Cucker didn't bother pinching, didn't bother trying to cross it back up, just let him go. Obviously trying to run his own race. And maybe by the time we get to lap 100, somebody else is going to be in a better position than Trombley is now at 1/5 distance. The other thing to keep in mind, though, is, Chris, it is going to be a little bit more difficult to directly compare yourself to somebody else in the SLM division than it would be in the late model stocks, and that's because of the open setups. Unlike the fixed setups where everybody's got the same thing here, not only is driving style going to play effect on how you get around this Myrtle Beach Speedway, but also the setup you've got is going to dictate what the fastest way around for you is. So it's not going to be a picture perfect comparison trying to figure out what works for somebody else, because that might not necessarily what works for you and your team.
Yeah, there are a lot of different factors here, Evan, that can play into it. Is your setup meant for the high line, the low line, the short run, or the long run? You can set them up for either way, and that's definitely going to be the task to beat. So looking right now at the battle for the 6th place position on track, it's going to be the 23 of Christian Peterson on the inside of Jeff Ward. Christian Peterson slowly making his way up. We know that he had a great car in the fixed setup, late model stock, but as you mentioned, the tides shift greatly in whoever has the better setup's favor. His setup can really drive the car, and it really helps these drivers out and gives them a really big advantage if they have some good setup builders on their car, which I know Team Vincier does. So gonna be watching that 23 and that 69 maybe open it up here towards the long run.
See if they can stretch it out past halfway on what would be this first run to the end of this race. The number 30 machine problems, though. No, Will Dravicki's going to be okay, but a yellow flag behind Dawson Fletcher in the number 71. Look at that move. Not wanting to sit around under the yellow, splits the gap to spin that total Toyota back around and get on going. That will be the first yellow flag of the night. And I can't even tell you that he's the one that brought out the yellow. I think it was. It all started with William Hale, and you'll get a good look at this on the LSR TV replay. The 62 and the 78 team cars, maybe, getting together there. Hale hangs on to it, but does eventually go all the way around. He tags Dawson Fletcher on his way through, and 2 cars around to slow us down quarter of a way through the race.
Yeah, it looks like that 62 machine, although he got tagged, he actually had it collected up, just nowhere for that 71 to go. It was going to be a nice save if he had been allowed to work that one out, but nevertheless, the 71 just gets tagged and nowhere for him to go. And already here on lap 26, that's going to bring our first caution out of the evening. So again, these guys showing a little bit of patience there, perhaps not for that 78 machine of Hum getting into him right there, but again, these guys exercising some patience here with that competition caution on the horizon. Now that's going to be pushed back.
It's going to be delayed those 40 laps, so we might see one closer to lap number 70. But the time this race does go back into green flag conditions, again, that's pretty much just on the cusp of the 20 lap to go margin. If we get in there, of course, we would not have a competition yellow. So any restart in this race from lap 40 on would mean that we could possibly go green to the end. So the longest you can literally go under green flag conditions, as long as you can possibly go, would be 60 laps under those specific circumstances. Nobody up front coming down pit road. Obviously, everybody happy with the track position. Justin Trombley, though, does lose that 1 second advantage, Chris. So we will see if Matt Cucker, Andrew Wooten, you got Brendan Wilkinson, Christian Peterson, 4-5 in a mix as well. If they want to jump in on things and mix it up, or if they're still content with letting the 45 do his thing up front. Still a long way from home. No reason to push the issue now, I don't think.
Yeah, no need to push the issue at this moment in time. And just want to do a quick note. You're going to see that 71 machine of Dawson Fletcher pull up behind the wall. We just saw him involved in that last caution. He was disqualified for contact under the caution flag, so won't be able to see that 71 finish out the super late model feature here tonight, Evan, which is very unfortunate. He was very, very fast in the LCQ, so very unfortunate for that driver. Meanwhile, going to be able to see these guys maybe stack it back up and get ready to go back green with the lights maybe going out on the pace car this time by. It looks like the drivers are really preparing for that, as you see Matt Cucker already shading on the outside, and the lights are off, so we're going to be going green next time by.
It is going to come with 30 laps down, 70 laps to go. So lap number 70 be the next possible competition caution if we do go green to that point. Still a lot of cars at a lead lap. We get a relatively small incident that slowed us down. 24 of the 28 who started this race are on the lead lap. 27 total cars still scored on the lead lap. Trombley wants to restart this one on the inside of the racetrack. It means that Matt Cucker is going to be up on the right-hand side. On the outside, we'll see if that does something for the global comm entry. But green flag flies and we go back underway. Trombley clear, first time at turn 1.
He's able to move up in front of Coker there on the exit of turn 2, but right now you look at the battle for the third spot. Wooten and Wilkinson going at it. Wooten drifting up a little bit. Wilkinson masterfully holding him down on the bottom, going to beat him to the stripe. It looks like this side-by-side battle is going to make a big pile behind them, too wide all the way back to the 10th spot here as we enter into turn number 3.
And that 10th spot is where all of the fun is. 2 sets of 2x2. The Pruitt team, rather, number 5 is Scott Austin outside trying to do something with the 89 of Jeremy Adams down low. He's far from the only driver up top. Again, a lot of folks trying to make that outside of the racetrack work. The 56 of Wilkinson, the highest most driver in the running order on the outside, trying to sneak up on Wooten. That's not going to happen, but he might just be able to clear Christian Peterson. That 23 trying to be very stubborn down low, not letting this one go, but I think if Wilkinson can stay clean, he's going to get it so very close again that time.
that caution last time by Evan with a huge reset button for that 69 of Matt Cucker. Him and that 45 of Justin Trombley have really pulled a decent gap on the rest of the field. That's going to be Andrew Wooten and company. Matt Cucker really sticking on the back bumper of that 45 machine, just waiting for a mistake out of Justin Trombley. Not something we saw in the last green flag run. We saw Trombley really open it up and pull away from Matt Cucker, but this time Matt Cucker slightly hanging off a little bit, but still up there and still in striking position. Meanwhile, just behind them, it's going to be Brandon Wilkinson and Christian Peterson go side by side. Wilkinson going to fall off, now have to do side-by-side battle with Jeff Ward. You see him move all the way down to the inside line, so that's going to clear him of the 7. Now Jake Watson and Jeff Ward. A whole lot of battles going on back here through the top 10.
Sideways, the 7 award was that time coming off at turn number 2. Way slotways off of the quarter, hurt his momentum down that entire back half of the racetrack, and he will be cleared by Jake Watson in the 88 car. On the outside of the CN chassis racing entry, it's going to get that number 7 position away from him, now moving up into the number 6 spot. And this is a trend we're seeing. You get stuck down low, you get stuck up top, doesn't matter. If one car gets by you, it is a good chance that a couple of them are going to get by you, and the 7 award loses another one with Morgan passing him, and he now drops to 8th.
Yeah, it seems as though that high line starting to follow the same trend that we saw in this last race. Obviously, guys are going to want to run the bottom if they're running single file, but when you get double file, that momentum that you can carry off the high side and being able to pinch that guy on the low side, it looks like that is just too much to handle right now as that high line starting to become the preferred lane once again to try and make some passes here on the racetrack.
And that is in quite contrast to what we saw earlier tonight in the LCQs, but the outside is definitely coming to play. One thing else we should note, you look at the racetrack and you might be able to just notice it off of the visual cues alone, and that is, Chris, that a little bit different weather conditions for the SLM race than what we saw earlier in the late model stocks. Those overcast conditions are gone, late afternoon settings, the sun beating down on a racetrack that is 68 degrees Fahrenheit, so that could also be playing a difference. That on top of the fact that you're in a different car, expecting the likes of Cucker and Peterson, who drove that late model stock race, as well as everybody else who's doing double duty tonight, to still be a little bit uneasy with adjusting to those changes.
You're exactly right. And another thing you might want to look at is, what if drivers, forgot about the time change or the time difference from the late model stock and the super late model, and you're racing in these late afternoon conditions. Maybe you made your setup for the afternoon and not the late afternoon. There's a whole lot of factors that can play into your car handling, your driving style, or anything, and that's just what makes these the simulator so great here on iRacing. You can really change it up a whole lot, and that's what makes these championship eSports races so good, is because you really get to use the full force of this iRacing sim, and it really puts it to the test. And that's exactly what these drivers are doing right now, because Matt Cucker's slowly falling off of Justin Trombley, and Trombley really opening up that gap once again.
Track conditions, weather conditions for all of these Cars eSport Tour races based on actual weather conditions from the Cars Tour. We gave you an opportunity to look in at the highlights from this past weekend at the Myrtle Beach Speedway for both the late models and the super lates, and those conditions as best as possible being recreated here in the sim with the Cars eSport Tour. We're almost halfway to the $200, the purse up for grabs tonight as we work lap number 47 100. Trombley again looks like he's the fastest car on track.
Trombley again maintaining that lead, Cucker maintaining it behind him. But the one thing I think I want to point out for our viewers out here is that these guys are not allowed to put tires on these race cars. So I got to think, if you're Matt Cucker, you can look behind you and see almost a second and a half back to that 23 car of Christian Peterson. That competition caution or another yellow, and actually the yellow flag is out right now, is going to slow us down, but no need to wear out those tires quite yet.
Out of 60 to go, so we will have no competition yellows on tonight because we've got an incident on the back straightaway. Battle for 13th position gone awry. We'll get a look at it on the LSR TV replay. The 17 of AJ Rogers, the 6 of Tommy Ryan, and not by a lot, but I think Ryan just got a little bit loose, pushed up the hill, tried to walk that car up there to keep it in the gas, and He gets into the 17 machine. Both of those cars go for a slide down the back. The 6 machine lucky he did not get shish kebabbed on that pit road wall like we saw earlier tonight in the LCQs, and both end up with a little bit of damage. Could have been a lot worse though. Yellow flag just shy of halfway.
Yeah, seeing that 17 of AJ Rogers get a little bit of contact to the door with that tire barrier right there to pit entry, but nothing near severe what we saw Jeremy Watkins get in the LCQ earlier tonight. Evan, he, like you said, all 4 tires skyward on that machine. He hit that wall so hard. So luckily for these drivers, they were able to get it quickly, spun back around and back in line to get him restacked up and re-racked to go again. But just like Blake said, that eliminates the competition caution here tonight, so that maybe is a sigh of relief for Justin Trombley. One less yellow he has to worry about, being the fastest car on track.
Is something that is definitely taken out of the equation. What this means is we've crossed the halfway point tonight once more, so let's take this opportunity to take a look at our iRacing midway race break, brought to you by iRacing. Justin Trombley leads the way at lap number 51, with Matt Cucker in second and Christian Peterson in third. So 1-2 for the first race at 2-3 at the moment. Andrew Wooten scored fourth with Jake Watson in fifth. Devin Morgan is sixth. Brandon Wilkinson, your pole sitter, down to seventh spot. Jeff Ward in eighth. Joe Burchett is ninth, and Scott Austin rounds out your top 10.
Just behind Scott in 11th, that's gonna be Seth the Merchant. Jeremy Adams 12th, Gabe Wood 13th, 14th Will Javicki, 15th Brad Carpenter, Corey Hine gonna be 16th, 17th GMA Fortin, 18th Jonathan Cadell, Dwight Beverly 19th. Your top 20 ends with Randy Yoakum.
21st is going to be Jeff Coate, 22nd AJ Rogers, 23rd Tommy Ryan, 24th Michael Held, 25th William Hale, 26th Dawson Fletcher, 27th John Leidy, and then 28th rounding out the back of this field is going to be the 16 of Paul Henley.
You look top to bottom at your iRacing midway race break. For more information on the wide variety of sim racing possibilities online, visit iRacing.com today. And if you go to iRacing.com/membership, take a look. 40% off all new memberships. It's active today at iRacing.com/membership. Pace car down and in. These iRacers are going at it. 47 more laps to go in the SLM feature. You're watching the Cars eSport Tour on LSR TV. Green flag flies once more. Trombley again selecting the inside for the restart. Will go toe-to-toe with Cucker in turn number 1 and 2.
Cucker again using that high side to try to hang on. He knows the track position is so important. Trying to pass that 45 machine of Trombley. It looks like he's going to clear him at the stripe, so briefly move that 69 machine up to the top spot, but Trombley still holding strong on the bottom. Going to slide up, kicks the rear end out a little bit, but that 69 still holding strong in this battle for the lead.
Battle for the race lead continues on, and even if Trombley prefers the inside, you have to think, Chris, that you might have to adjust what you're doing to counter the strengths of those you're racing against. Matt Cucker loves the outside. That's how he won the race in the late model stocks, and Trombley handed it to him on a silver platter. And guess who your new race leader is now inside of the final 50? It's Matt Cucker.
And look who is just behind this battle for the lead. Team Vincier teammate, I guess I should say, the 23 of Christian Peterson, as a caution comes out once again.
Yellow flag is out. Shortest, I think, green flag run we've had tonight. It's Randy Yoakum in the 9, who has gone all the way around. He was another one of those innocent victims, though. Dwight Beverly, the one who got the shunt. Had a little bit of help courtesy of the front end of the 51 of Jeff Coate to spin him around in turn 2.
Yeah, it looks like just another case of somebody getting there on the bottom line, perhaps running into that apron just a little bit there. And again, there's just not a whole lot of room to try to make things happen, but Dwight Beverly once again on the wrong end of another spin out here.
He loops it around and we're under yellow. We'll take a quick opportunity to step aside. Back to the Myrtle Beach Speedway in just a moment. You're watching LSR TV's coverage of the Cars eSport Tour on your home for sim racing in iRacing Live. Matt Cucker leading. He's 41 laps away, should say, from going back-to-back tonight from Myrtle Beach.
The Triangle's biggest sports event of the spring comes to Raleigh on April 7th when the Cars Response Energy Tour visits Wake County Speedway. Tickets are on sale now for the biggest event to hit America's favorite bull ring in its entire history. The biggest late model stock car drivers like Josh Berry, Sam Mayer, Lane Riggs, and Deep McCaskill hit the quarter mile for a night full of action. April 7th, the Cars Tour at Wake County Speedway. For more information and tickets, visit carsracingtour.com.
Back live from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Lights back out on top of the iRacing.com pace car. Here we go for another restart. Matt Cucker, winner of the late model stocks earlier, wants a super late model win as well. He has put Justin Trombley on the inside of the racetrack for a restart with 38 laps to go. Oh yeah, with $200 on the line. But the 45 going to be the one that takes off, and it is not even close. It was a slow start by Cucker at race control, letting the 45 of Trombley know he's got to give it back. But he gave plenty of spots back, and all of a sudden, instead of just giving P1 back, Trombley goes outside of the top 10.
Trombley stood on the brakes going down the back straightaway. Evan gave up way more positions than he needed, but allowed Matt Cucker to get back into the lead. Meanwhile, just behind him, Christian Peterson and Andrew Wooten doing a little bit of battling going on there, as Peterson will clear Wooten for second place. Just behind them, Watson and Morgan going at it. Now Watson looks to use the outside lane to his advantage and get on the outside of Wooten, but not going to quite make it work. Maybe he is. Look at the run. That 88 machine got off of turn 2 to get side by side with Wooten. Side by side coming out of 4. That 88 is moving on the outside lane.
Hustling up top, trying to make something happen with the open hole that has now been left, with the lack thereof of a solid challenger in Trombley, who I think with a little bit of frustration just got too hard on the brakes. It went way back in 11th position. Someone's going to fill that hole. Peterson has moved into the number 2 position, so we're currently looking at the same 1-2 that we had at the end of that late model stock race a little bit earlier on. But Jake Watson, the first newbie, if you will, there. But a caution to flag behind. We've got big issues on the back straightaway. Couple of cars. Jeremy Adams is one of them.
Yeah, we see the 56 of Brandon Wilkinson up in the air here in turn number 2. The 89 of Jeremy Adams is involved. Gabe Wood is also in this one. A big gaggle of cars on the exit of turn number 2. Looks like just some contact there. I believe the 56 is what went around, and the guys behind him already running on the high side like we've seen a lot of tonight, just nowhere to go, and they loop in. That's 3 or 4 cars all heavily damaged in this one.
And it looks like the connection might have had a little bit to do with that one, because I think the 57 machine can't place any blame on Seth Emergent. Did everything that he could to hold it down, but a couple of cars to the inside accordioned up. 56 just got tagged in that left rear quarter panel, and around went Brandon Wilkinson. And as I mentioned, then I saw that 89 machine up into the outside wall. A couple of the drivers. The most unfortunate one, I think, in all of this is Jonathan Cadell for the 65 machine, who was way off and behind this. And as he got on the brakes, the memo was not passed, Chris, to the 6 car behind him, and that's Tommy Ryan, who gets him into the back end. And that sends Cadell sliding right into the end of the old pit road on the back.
Yeah, I saw that out of the back of your screen when we were live there, just coming through. Just unfortunate for that driver to plow right back in, like you mentioned, to the old pit road right there. Just unfortunate. Cadell kind of slide, tried everything he could to get it woed up, but just could not get it stopped. So that driver gonna get some heavy damage on the front end, but quickly got it roped back around and up and going, as you just saw that onboard look not too long ago with him going straight in towards the end of the pit barrier. So Matt Cucker gonna have to do that one more time, and maybe Justin Trombley can work his way back up front, because that restart was just bizarre. Evan Trombley going from second all the way down to 7th, so he's got a lot of work to do in that 45 camp to get back up there to compete to the lead, because he was the fastest car on track for the longest amount of time.
And expect this kind of pace to continue now through the final 30 laps or so. We got a yellow Blake right at about this point. The late model stocks only had 2 more yellows from that point on to the end, and actually had a very good long green flag stretch through the completion of this race. But I think with one of the faster cars in Trombley still desperately trying to scrap back up to the front in 7th right now, the fact that I think Peterson has a little bit of unfinished business with Matt Cucker, it is not going to be as picture perfect of a closing 30. Of course, the added element of the purse on the line in this SLM feature didn't hurt either.
I was about to say, David, you could throw any of that race strategy out the window. You just tell a race car driver they got $200 to win this virtual race here at the Myrtle Beach Speedway. They're going to do everything they can to win, and obviously the trend has been, as we get later in these races, more cautions breed more cautions, so that's what you're going to see here later on, and that $200 purse is not going to be lost to any of these drivers.
Definitely weighing heavily on their minds as we come side by side at a 4 and get set to try it again. 28 laps to go. It's the SLMs and the Cars eSport Tour. A lot of checking up on the inside as Matt Cucker puts Peterson on the bottom. This is how he won it late in the late model stock race, by taking the preferred line away. He's got half a car length to turn 3.
Both of these drivers are equally as good on the outside line, Evan. So if you're Matt Cucker, you do exactly what he did and take that outside line for yourself and force that 23 of Peterson to pass you on the inside. You can see him not stirring away from that second lane one bit here, Evan. Is look at Christian Peterson trying to get that run as a caution going to be out, so he's going to have to hold that run off of 4 for one more time.
It was the 3 of Brad Carpenter, and although he was the only one to go around in this one, again, kind of just a product of somebody else's misfortunes. I mentioned we saw that big checkup Blake on the restart on the inside. Well, the outside had a massive accordion on the back. I think the 00 machine, Gabe Wood, looked like he was going to come up and cut off Guillaume Fortin, so Fortin checks it up. They're all trying to avoid a spinning 78 of Corey Helm, and that causes the 13 to get on the brakes. The 16 gets on the brakes. He's the one who gets pushed down, and that 3 car gets absolutely shunted into the inside wall. Heavy damage and a lot of smoke might end his night.
Yeah, a hard lick there for Brad Carpenter, who didn't fare much better in our race earlier tonight. Also, an early accident put him out of this one. You got to look up at that 78 car, making a great save, sliding it from the bottom to the top of the racetrack. Corey Hum definitely doing a great job to keep it straight, but obviously you see a car sitting sideways like that on the back straightaway. It's going to cause all of these guys back here, the 6, the 02, the 65, the 17, a lot of cars involved in this one. So a great save there, but it still causes a lot of mayhem here on the backstretch. And like we were just saying, Evan, cautions breed more cautions, and very quickly we see another yellow flag.
And the yellow flag is going to take up more laps of green flag action than those last 2 green flag runs did. It'll bridge us right to about lap number 80 in this 100 lap contest. Ever so closer to the end of week 2 of this Cars eSport Tour. Cucker, Peterson, Watson, Booten, and Award 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Trombley in 7th, I think, Chris, needs some green flag laps to be able to get back. I still think the 45's got speed. Remember, the first half of this race, the 45 was by far and large the fastest car, but he has not been enjoying this traffic he's been in, and I don't think a lot of it is his own fault, aside from the fact that, well, jumped the restart, dropped all those positions to not get a penalty, but it is a lot more difficult to get spots when you're only getting 2-3 laps at a time.
It is, and that'll be the most difficult thing for that 45 machine, especially if these cautions keep coming, because like we mentioned earlier on in the broadcast, Evan, one caution eats about 4 green flag laps away, and once we get down to the nitty-gritty, which we are starting to enter that nitty-gritty portion of this race here, Evan, you don't want to be fighting an uphill battle, which is exactly what that 45 of Justin Trombley is doing at this moment. He was up front for most of the race, but it just goes to show one mistake can prove costly for these drivers here in the Cars eSport Tour. So Matt Cucker going to try to line up, do the exact same thing he did to Christian Peterson in that 23 and pin him on the bottom and keep that lead for about 21 more laps.
All he needs to hang on for is this time by 21 more laps. Something tells me, though, this isn't going to be the final time. We have to do the dance. The pace car's off it in. Same positioning with Matt Cucker on the inside. And Peterson knows he can't beat the 69 to the line, so he's got to be as close as he possibly can. The inside just has not worked out for anybody tonight. In a battle for the race lead, the 23 again. I think his best bet might be tucking a line behind Cucker, trying to get to the outside, because the 69 is going to clear him this time before. Yes, sir. 20 to go from Myrtle Beach.
Well, Evan, I know that long green flag run we had the last time before some of these yellows came out, that 23 was actually running down the 69. I think it's just a matter of if he can get the right run, the right track position, and try to make a move there on Cucker. But right now, Cucker holds the lead on lap 82 of 100.
Needs to sequence a couple of green flag laps in a row to put that speed to the test. He's got a good position now, only half a car length off. Look how tight everybody was that time coming out of turn 2. Nobody is conserving anything at this point in the race. The 69, again, a little bit slower off. And you can see Peterson's getting a huge run up to the back bumper as he comes off of the corner every single time. He's also running a little bit lower in the center of the corner to help that car hook up and rotate off of the turn.
And you know how much Christian Peterson would love to flip the top 2 from the late model stock finishing order here, Evan, and put Matt Cucker in second place, and he's looking to slowly but surely do that and kind of taking away ever so slowly at the gap in between those two drivers. But Matt Cucker just looks so strong. We've seen him do this before. Can he sweep another Myrtle Beach weekend here tonight, Evan? We've seen him do it on multiple occasions in the Myrtle Beach Simulation Series, and he's looking to pick up right where he left off from that and kind of just sweep the weekend, and he's slowly but surely starting to pull away from that 23.
That would definitely show you, even with Peterson right there as well, that for how much these guys have run this track on the iRacing.com service in 2018, even back to halfway through last year when that Myrtle Beach Simulation Series started, how much of an advantage that gives them, because anytime you can go out, get multiple wins in different cars at a short track like they did in that series, it is impressive. But to do something like that in this series, in this Cars eSport Tour, where you're talking about 30 of some of the best oval track drivers on the service, on the short tracks, it is that much more of an impressive feat. Now to 13 laps to go, and he is now pulling just a tad bit on a Peterson who slides to 4 car lengths off.
Well, I'll tell you what, there is one guy up here we don't need to forget about. He is keeping pace right now with that 69, caught him a little bit that last time by. That's the number 88 of Jake Watson sitting there in the third spot. I know we've gotten lost in a lot of the talk with Cucker and Peterson right now, but that 88 definitely kind of arcing it really high on the entrance of the corner, trying to get as good of a run off as you possibly can. He's trying to make up some ground, and who knows here, maybe he's getting positioned for a late restart as we come up here on lap 90.
10 laps to go next time by from Myrtle Beach. Justin Trombley also, you talk about Watson, the 45 right there on his back bumper. I said Trombley probably needed a little bit of green flag laps. He got that. He's gone 7th to 4th. Problem is, he's 1.1 seconds back, so now I think he might need a yellow at a restart to close that gap back in and get up there. Last time by, Justin Trombley in 4th was the fastest car on the racetrack.
You can tell how bad he wants to go back and how bad it's itching at him that he made that one costly mistake on the restart. But I just do not know if it's in the heart of the cards here tonight, Evan. He's trying and clawing to try to get that uphill battle like I mentioned earlier, but I just do not think we're winding down these laps here at Myrtle Beach. And unless there's a late race caution, I just do not think it's in the cards for Justin Trombley. But I'm never going to say never, because anything can happen here at Myrtle Beach and in this Cars Tour, so it'll be interesting to see what that 45 can get going. Meanwhile, Matt Cucker pulling away from the 23 ever so slightly and just opening up that gap. So definitely going to be hard for that 45 to get back up, but Matt Cucker looking dominant out there tonight.
Would be quite impressive if Cucker can become the first driver to get a win in both divisions, late model stocks and super lates, and to do it the first time out. But a caution flag flies with 6 laps to go, and it is Guillaume Fortin who's around on the front straightaway. Contacted a racing deal between he and the 51 machine of Jeff Coate have slowed things down. Hold the phone because we are not done.
And Evan, you were just saying lap 94. That means we're going to come down to probably a 1 or 2 lap dash for all the cash here at Myrtle Beach. So Cucker, definitely not what he wanted to see, that yellow flag. Definitely not in his agenda. He wanted to go up there and secure his $200 purse for tonight. It looks like he had that in the books, but now you put Peterson, Watson, you can even throw Trombley back into this thing, so we're going to have a very late race restart. I think we may even see some contact down here in turn 1.
I have a feeling that there is going to be a little bit of bench sheet battle after we send these guys off into turns 1 and 2 with the obvious win on the line, the purse, the added bonuses, and again, because this super late model tour is going to come with less points races on the year than the late model stocks, maybe a little bit more important in the grand scheme of things is to start here and head into week number 2 in a couple of weeks. The top of the mountain. The big question now becomes, Chris, how many laps do we get out of this? Because this series does allow for an overtime finish. We'll have to listen in to see if we will exercise that option or if we might end up going with a 1-lap shootout if that's what the sim lines us up for.
I think this is, I think we're going to at least get a 1-lap regulation finish, but whether we go overtime, that's a different question here, Evan. I'm going to be interested to see what that 45 does, because you heard me talking before, he's going to need that late race caution to have a shot at doing this, and not even maybe 10 seconds later we get that caution. And it's going to be interesting to see that 45, because he's going to be starting on the outside right behind whichever lane Matt Cucker picks, and I'm going to guess it's going to be the outside, because you do not want to give Christian Peterson that outside line. That would almost prove costly for your race. So you're definitely going to want to take that preferred line away from that 23, and that's going to put the 45 right behind the 69, which would be the control car. So he's definitely sitting in good position, sitting here in 4th place.
We are going to head into Championship Esports Association overtime here tonight for the Myrtle Beach Speedway to settle this one. Sim running out of time. Blake not enough time to get the 2 laps in, so we will have a green-white checker once the pace car leaves the racetrack.
Well, and again, that's exactly what Trombley and all of these guys wanted to hear. All these fans out here in the grandstands watching out there on LSR TV. It's what you tuned in to see. $200 on this race right here, and it's all going to come down to these 2 laps. Let's see who can come out and take the checkered flag.
This car going to come down and in. This one is end up going to be in a green checkered. 1 lap to the end with the $200 on the line. Cucker to the outside, Peterson to the inside. It's go time for the super late models. Green flag back in the air. A dead heat to the line. Peterson had the advantage though, side by side. The 69 should have the advantage, but does Peterson get physical in 3 and 4 for the final time? He drives it in hard, side by side, but it is not going to be enough, and the 69 of Matt Cucker going to come in at turn number 4, and he is going to get the job done. Winner tonight in the super late models, it is old Matt Cucker, and he'll keep her in the gas just to make sure, but he gets the job done.
And that is a statement, Evan, by that 69 of Matt Cucker to come out to Myrtle Beach, where we've spent a greater part of our past year doing the tango here at Myrtle Beach Speedway, and now you see him burn it down. He knows what this means. He just sweeped the night here at Myrtle Beach, picking up the late model stock and the first super late model race of the 2018 car season here tonight. So congratulations to Matt Cucker. That's an amazing feat to be a part of.
We're going to take a look again at that last lap. Peterson had probably, Blake, one of the better starts for somebody on the inside all night, but even with that positioning, just no match for Cucker and that outside lawn, which was a dynamic duo.
Well, it was, and I think you saw Peterson there doing what he did last race. He didn't want to put the fender on the 69 right there. Again, Christian Peterson ran hard, ran clean all night there with Matt Cucker, and I think you saw that again here at the end of this race. He wanted to race hard, but he didn't want to move him out of the way to try and get this win here tonight.
We've seen basically anytime somebody's tried to move somebody out of the way so far tonight, it did not end up in a very good situation at all. So they avoid getting into each other. They race it out to the end. And Matt Cucker is your race winner tonight in late model stocks as well. We'll get some reaction from him second time tonight in a moment. But first, as always, we look top to bottom at your LSR TV full race results. Matt Cucker with the win. Christian Peterson second. The same one, too, for the late model stocks. And out in this super late model main event, Jake Watson, Justin Trombley, and Jeff Ward come home in third, fourth, and fifth. Sixth position tonight belongs to the 70 to Corey Heim. Andrew Wooten slides a little bit at the end to seventh. A good night for Seth the Merchant as he stays quiet en route to an eighth place finish. Joe Burchett is ninth, and Scott Austin comes home 10th.
Wojcicki in that 30, going to come home in 11th. How about AJ Rogers, 24th to 12th here tonight? Brandon Wilkinson just behind him, going to be in that 13th position. 14th goes to Dwight Beverly. Gabe Wood is going to be 15th. 16th is Jeremy Adams. Randy Yoakum is 17th. 18th, Jeff Coate. Tommy Ryan, 19th. And Jonathan Cadell rounds out your top 20.
Billy Fortin going to come home 21st. Devin Morgan, after a promising start and a good run earlier tonight, going to end up in 22nd. And then rounding out the cars who were not able to make it to the checkered flag of this thing: Brad Carpenter in 23rd, Michael Held 24th, William Hale in 25th, John Lyday in 27th, or Dawson Fletcher in 26th, rather, John Lyday in 27th, and then Paul Henley rounding out in the 28th position.
That's a look top to bottom at your LSR TV full race results. We step down trackside, same place, same day. Matt Cucker won it earlier tonight in the late model stocks. He is your race winner tonight as well in the super late models. Trackside with the driver of the number 69 machine. Matt, congratulations once more. It's almost like you've done a couple of laps here before at the Myrtle Beach Speedway. You guys were fast once again, and you put it in victory lane. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, a couple laps, so I feel like this is the only track I've ever ran on iRacing, and this is the way it feels. How many laps we put here in the past, I'd say, 6 months. It's crazy. But, that setup, it was pretty decent. I mean, I was worried about Trombley at the beginning there. He just pulled away, and I wasn't sure if we would have anything for him. And then on the one restart there, I was able to get on around him. And then the next restart, I don't know if he just went early or what happened, but he had to fall back. And I mean, that was a tough one.
Yeah, very early on in this race, obviously you mentioned a mistake he made. He jumped the restart, had to give that position back, and instead of just giving one spot back, dropped to 11th or so, and he was able to climb back up to 4th, but I think the self-inflicted error there was just a little bit too much to overcome. But in that first half of the race, obviously you know you're going to have a yellow at some point. Either someone's going to get into an accident, or we're going to have a competition yellow. So there is no concern of somebody running away all the way to the race win. So did that allow you to kind of hang back a little bit and conserve when he was out to those second gaps?
Very much so, because I knew as long as I could keep the guys behind me at a gap, and as long as I didn't get too close, I could save some. And that's what I was doing. I was just trying to save as much as I could, so that way at the end there I would have something for either him or Christian, because I knew Christian was going to be strong. He was strong last season in these cars, and I mean, to come out with a win the first week out, I mean, it means something from these Tim Vincier guys to do all the practice that we do in these 6-man race cars.
You know that it doesn't matter what happens in those 90-95 laps. These things always seem to come down to late race restarts. You guys were able to do topside again. And Christian Peterson there once more. Looked like you had him a little bit more in this SLM than you did in the late model stocks. But funny how it came down to you two again. Were you expected him to make any sort of dive bomb move there final time in 3 and 4 because he was still on your inside?
I mean, Christian never raced me dirty, and I don't think I ever raced him dirty. I mean, I don't think he would have went in there to move me up out of the way. I could see him driving in there hard just to try to get under me and scare me, but I mean, I wasn't expecting anything dirty from him, so I was just figuring if I go in there, hold my line, I should be all right. And thank God he did that, and it was great racing from him.
You absolutely were all right, and not only is it sweet to get a win anytime you can have multiple divisions, you get it in the late model stocks, now in the super lates, but as well the super late model race with a $200 purse, which never hurt as well. So I would say it was a pretty good Wednesday evening for you. How would you look back on everything and how this one has gone and kind of how this sets you guys up for the rest of the year?
Man, it was phenomenal Wednesday night. I mean, I knew coming to Myrtle Beach it was going to be it should be a good week, and it turned out to be even better than what I thought. I mean, especially getting both wins. And I mean, just to start off the year, I mean, last time I raced at Stafford with the late model stock, didn't go as planned with the tire strategy, but we were able to pull out a fourth there, and then the win tonight. I mean, all about being consistent this season with all the competition we got. So that's what my main goal is, and hopefully we can continue to do it going forward.
Going forward, we have our standard 1 week off, and then we'll be back on April the 11th from the Irwindale Speedway. Both divisions going to be in action once more. We have not done the thousands of laps at Irwindale like we have here at Myrtle Beach in the last little while. So what's the preparation going to be like going for that one to make sure you guys can stay on top and be competitive?
Practice. I mean, I'm not a fan of that Irwindale, so I mean, the inner track for the late model stock that we're going to be running on, it seems a lot of fun. I've never done it before, but hopefully we'll see what happens. But the outer track with the super late, I ran a couple races there in a couple different leagues, and I've never fared too well. So we'll see what happens, and hopefully we can get some more practice under our belt and get a decent setup to contend for the win.
Well, we won't press you too much about the next time out. We'll let you get out of here and enjoy this one. It was a well-deserved and a hard-fought night, Matt. As always, the sponsors and the shout-outs who makes that 60-knot machine go so fast that it makes it happen for you. I
got to thank Team Vincier, Six-Man Race Cars, Globalcom, Turn 3 Auto Transport. I got to thank Austin Designs, Peterson Irrigation. You guys are putting one heck of a show every week. And Kyle Barnes and Cars eSport, or Cars Tour again.
Race winner in the late model stocks, and your race winner in the super late models, Matt Cucker in the number 69 Toyota in this one. Matt, congratulations again. As always, you tend to win a lot of races, so we bug you a lot. We appreciate your time. Best of luck going forward. We'll catch you next time.
It's all right, you guys. Thank you.
Race winner tonight in both occasions. So we finally got a look at two different divisions, Chris, for this 2018 Cars eSport Tour. And it was the Matt Cucker Show. Christian Peterson, by the way, not to take anything away, back-to-back second place finishes, which on any other week I feel like this season would be a fantastic result. And it is. A lot of points. Not to get upstaged by Matt Cucker on this side alone, but those two guys definitely put it to the field on a racetrack that they are very familiar with. I'm certain that when they looked at the calendar, this is one they circled. I think things will be a little bit more wide open going into these next 8 weeks on the season, but definitely tonight they showed you that practice makes perfect, and all of those laps that we spent over the winter and this early spring here at Myrtle Beach paid off.
It did, and you know, it just goes to show that, you know, practice makes perfect, and even when they're not practicing, running the Myrtle Beach Series really prepared them pretty well for this, and I'm excited to get back here in 2 weeks' time on the 11th back here at Irwindale, where we see the late models and the super late models go back at it again, but that's not it for LSR TV this week, and that's definitely not it for the Cars Tour, even though we have a week off on the virtual side. Wake County, you saw the commercial for it on the 7th. You go to that one, if you're in the area, you might just see me and Cisco you know, running around and moseying on around that track.
And of course, the next time this Cars eSport Tour is out, we will head to the Irwindale Speedway, Blake, the Outer Loop. Irwindale, one of my personal favorite tracks, a racetrack that I've been to on the real world side of things, and that one should be fun. Very different than what we saw here tonight at Myrtle Beach, but it should be an exciting one nonetheless as we head into our third week of action.
Absolutely, it's going to be much different. And if you look at last season, we did not visit this racetrack here in this tour. So you're going to see guys coming up to a brand new racetrack that in this series they have not visited. So it should definitely be interesting to see who's able to tame it, who's able to come out on top here in 2 weeks.
That's all that it has for us here tonight from the Myrtle Beach Speedway, as another round of Cars eSport Tour competition falls into our rearview mirror. The good news is you're not going to have to wait 2 weeks until the next time we're back out on live, because we've got some action coming up later this week. This Friday, the Sunwest Construction Super Speedway Cup Series is in action at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, and on Saturday it is the United Series BNC Lawn and Landscaping Truck Series. Full broadcast schedule going to be found on our website at www.liveseracing.com, but the best way to stay up to date with us is by following us on social media. Give us a like at facebook.com/LSRTV official, and follow us on Twitter at LSRTV. Until next time, on behalf of our entire team, Live Sim Racing LLC, for the folks behind the scenes and making everything happen, for Pit Road Media, Tony Stevens, with the Graphics Championship Esports Association, Kyle Barnes for the series, for Chris Regal and the Cars Tour for their support, Drew Adamson, Tony Gardner, and everybody else at iRacing for making iRacing Live tonight possible, and for the broadcast team tonight, for myself, Evan Pasoko, for Chris Murdoch, Blake McChandless, and our producer, Cisco Scarmuza, we want to thank you for joining us and congratulate Matt Cucker on the back-to-back he sweeps tonight in the late model stocks and the super late models. This series returns on April the 11th from the Irwindale Speedway. That race and every race of the 2018 Cars eSport Tour can be found right here on LSR TV, your home for sim racing. Until next time, good night from Myrtle Beach.